perfect. Salute, and welcome. Welcome back over here to the Black Ocean. You're now swinging deep in with your host, the one and only Great Black Shark. And yes, family, we have to take the time to examine something here tonight because as the title of the video says, we have to determine whether what we're about to review and examine here tonight is considered pro-blackness in the face of white supremacy. Okay, we're going to let you be the judge here tonight. So I'm going to direct your attention to the screen here. Examine the following mindset and tell me if you think it represents pro-blackness in the face of white supremacy. Now, I want to preface this tonight for all of you that have joined us and will be joining us over here tonight. People can change, okay, as they get new information. That's what intelligent human beings do. But we must also look at certain things when it comes to those amongst us that are confronted with racism and white supremacy. We have to take into account how our people react to it when they're first confronted with it. Do they recognize it? Okay. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, shouldn't anybody recognize racism and white supremacy when they come across it? Fortunately, some people don't. Now, being that I just said that, you might think, okay, well, the people that don't recognize it will have to be young people, okay, children, inexperienced folks. And I'm going to posit to you here tonight, that's not always the case. Sometimes we have grown people, very intelligent grown people, college graduates that may not recognize racism and white supremacy right in front of them for a number of different reasons, okay? Now, as those of us over here in New Black Media Spaces know, in the Black grassroots, we know that can be a very deadly thing for a Black person. And so we're going to do our best to examine this here tonight. It's going to be a teaching moment. It's not going to be meant to punch down or pick at anybody. I'm going to present this to you all, and we're going to break some things down and examine it piece by piece. Let you all make up your own mind about this. And hopefully it will be used as a teaching tool for other young Black people, because, see, one of the biggest misconceptions amongst a lot of grown Black folks today, especially once they form certain worldviews, they start leaning towards the political left, the political right. They can't tell when they're dealing with white supremacists, okay, or anti-Black racists, all right? They can't, because they're so caught up in a particular worldview, and they forget to go back to the basics of what our core experience is as Black Americans in this country is, okay? We are the only group on American soil that has had laws specifically designed to target and oppress us, okay? So when you fast forward to the modern era, Most people in the dominant society have people in their family that have kept the traditions of Jim Crow and anti-black racism alive. That is their family legacy, okay? So a lot of people will make the misconception that if a white person isn't yelling nigga, nigga, nigga at you or doesn't have a Klan robe over their head, they tend to think that those are not white supremacists. And we all know, those of us over here know that nothing could be further from the truth. So I'm going to show you what we're going to be examining here tonight. And in fairness, this is not new. This is about 6 years old. I'm going to show you something. Gonna direct your attention to the screen up here. Now, those of you that don't know who this young brother is, his name on YouTube is O'Shea Duke Jackson. All right. A lot of people know him as 1/3 of the Black Manosphere. Okay. The brother these days says he's pro-black. That's what he says. But we're going to examine an interview. Now, again, this was done 6 years ago, as you see on the screen here, from 2018. And the title of this, Does Black Privilege Exist? Now, the person that he's interviewing, going to be a member of the Caucasian male species, John Paul, okay? John Paul. So just setting the stage here so you know what we're going to be looking at. Don't want anybody to think this is current. This is 6 years ago, all right? But there's a very important lesson in here for us to examine here tonight. Like I said, we're not going to be disparaging anybody, but we're going to be pointing out the things that are right and the things that are wrong in this discussion because, see, a lot of young people today do not know how to engage white supremacists when they encounter them, okay? So we have to do our best, those of us with platforms and that know better, we have to do our best to make sure that they do understand. So now that you all know what we will be examining over here tonight, going to take the time to greet my esteemed chat room, okay? And do let me know if there's any audio issues. We will get that taken care of in a hurry. Like I said, I'm trying out some new sound settings over here. So if you hear anything that's distorted or what have you, let me know. We'll get that taken care of. So with that said, let me greet the chat room. I see Brother William Kennan here. I see a Goddess Navi in here with all that long hair on her head. My good brother and comrade, Black Voltron Reloaded. Salute, my brother. Keep holding it down out there on the West Coast. Michael Williams, I see you, my brother. Kid Gravity Beyond, B1 Night right in the house checking in. Only Pamela's Way. What's going on, sister? I see Patricia Jenkins in here, moderator on deck. Salute to Josh Norris, I see, and everyone else that'll be joining us in here at attendance tonight. So before we get the ball rolling, can everyone hear the audio okay? Is everything coming through loud and clear? Okay. I want to wait and make sure because I want you all to be able to hear the stream and be able to hear me as crisp and accurately as possible. Okay, I want to make sure before we get underway. Give me a thumbs up if everybody can hear everything crystal clear. All right, I'm gonna wait a couple of seconds, looking in the chat room to get that acknowledgement, and then we shall get underway with the examination here tonight. Okay, I see William Kent. Thumbs up. Mark by Smiths, I'm doing very well, my brother. Salute to you. Okay, hey, my brother Black Voltron says the audio is fine. Josh Norris says it's okay. All right, cool. Okay, so we shall get underway here tonight. And brace yourselves. A lot of you who already understand what racism and white supremacy is, that some of this is going to frustrate you. But like I said, we're doing this for a reason. We're going to teach this lesson the right way over here tonight. So with that said, we shall get started.
Welcome back, everybody, to yet another episode here on the O'Shea Vlogcast channel. I am your host, O'Shea Duke Jackson, and today, man, we're going to probably talk about some controversial things that might not just shake up the Black Manosphere, but Black YouTube in general. I think some of the things that are going to be discussed today are going to be uncomfortable, and these are some things that need to be spoken about. Typically, you will not hear a white person talk about certain things like this, especially a white person that is married to a Black woman and helps raise Black kids. But we're going to talk about this whole idea, does Black privilege exist? And I'm here with John Paul. You guys know him. He's always on the channel. He's a moderator here. He's a Patreon. And he, we all know him. We all appreciate him for his, honesty and jokes and stuff. So he participates in the conversations here.
Now, keep in mind, the brother O'Shea just told you John Paul, who you're looking at on the screen right now, he's married to a black woman. I want you to bookmark that because it's going to be very germane to the lesson we're teaching here tonight. The John Paul guy, the white dude, he's married to a black woman. He was a moderator on O'Shea's channel. Okay. Member of his Patreon, so on and so forth. You heard that. Just wanted to make sure that you caught that part. Let's get back to it.
The time on the shows. Welcome to the show, John Paul.
Hey, what's going on, O'Shea, man? It's a privilege. It's a privilege, and it's my pleasure to be on the show with you this Saturday, man. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and we're glad you're here. Now, John Paul is also a YouTuber. He has a YouTube channel. Also, he started off just as a subscriber, but then started his own channel, started producing content. Let's just tell everybody who's listening a little bit about you before we kind of get into the topic, so that they know your background and your standpoint.
Yeah, as everyone knows, I am white. That's not a surprise. My name is John Paul. I am a conservative. I am, like O'Shea said, I am married to a black woman, and I have 8 biracial kids, and I have a stepdaughter, which is black. So I have a total of 9 kids in the Paul household. I am a metal fabricator. I'm transferring over to get my Class A, my CDLs. And me and my wife, we're just middle-class Americans trying to, put food on the table to take care of our family. And, in this social climate that we live in, O'Shea, it's very interesting, some of the conversations that we have at the dinner table, family, or a biracial, interracial family. And so we don't sweep nothing under the rug. And anybody that watches my video or who follows me understand that John Paul is pretty raw as they get. And
mind you, any of the technical difficulties you will see that is going to be coming from what we're reviewing here is not on my end. This was back in the Google Hangouts days. So, they phased that out and it's gone on to upgrade to other things. So that's why you'll be seeing a few little issues here. There's not going to be very many, but let me know if you can't understand any of the audio. We will either go back to it or upgrade the sound on my end so that you can hear it. But you already heard him give his description of his background, right? You saw several red flags already for those of us with common sense. Okay, you're married to a black woman. Okay. Then you got 8 adoptive kids. That's what he said. Okay. Keep in mind how we've seen how that turns out over the years when these white folks go and adopt our children and they get into these interracial relationships and marriages or what have you. Want to bear that out, but we're going to get back to it.
I just tell it how I feel, and I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. So that's me in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This hangout that we're doing right now was really unexpected, but it was.
Yeah.
I heard you do a particular video about black privilege.
Yes.
I kind of knew where this was going a little bit.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you kind of cut in and out.
Yeah, no. What made you discuss this particular video today?
Well, on my channel, and people that follow me and watch my videos, my channel is all about facts over feelings, but I'm coming at it from a white conservative point of view. And I'm not your typical white conservative. Like you said, O'Shea, I am married to a black woman. So I am embedded into the black culture as well as the white culture. I have my feet are on both sides of the tracks. And so I make videos.
So now let me go ahead and hop right back in here. Now, see, family, this is what a lot of them tend to think. All right. And by them, I'm talking about members of the dominant society. They tend to think because they have a black wife or a black husband that they're embedded into black culture. Let me take the time to say this right now, okay? Because, see, I like to make sure that when I cover something, I do it in a responsible manner. If you're a young black person listening to this live recorded, just because someone is dating a black person does not mean they're a part of our culture. You're not a part of our culture if you don't share our bloodline, our history, and the things that we go through in present day as black people. See, notice these people that'll say that. You're going to see more about this guy as we get further into this. But notice that the people that'll say that, when it's time to produce justice for black people, they're nowhere to be found. In fact, those same people that will tell you what Mr. John Paul just said here, they're the first ones to oppose producing justice for black people, whether it's reparations or making sure that we get a fair day in court as far as like being accused of any crime. So I just want to go ahead and point that out to you. But like I said, we're going to let him tell on himself. Let's let him get back to it.
Just like you, O'Shea, talking about stuff in the media, in the real life world that we live in. And I give it my perspective as well as you and a lot of people in the Negro Manosphere give their perspective of their own personal life experiences. And that's what I do in my videos. I talk about it from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about black privilege.
Okay.
When you say black privilege, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, I just want to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
When I say privilege, and the main thing in today in 2018 is white privilege. White privilege is all over the place. It's everywhere. It's on Twitter. It's on social media. It's on the news. And this is a thing that they just keep shoving down people's throats. Mm-hmm. I do believe in privilege. I believe that class privilege, subtextures and subtitles that go with that, because just like a cake, there's different levels to layers or levels. Well, white privilege, you know, I do believe that white elites, you know, you have very wealthy white people and they have privilege, not just because they have wealth and they have power, but because they are white. I'm not from that olive branch by any means. So when people on a lower level, and when I mean that, I mean I'm on a lower level too, the middle class, we're not elite. When I have people saying that I have white privilege because I'm white, I have to call them out on their bullshit, because if I don't work, I don't eat, and I'm no different than the next man, and it doesn't matter what color he is. Now, when I specifically talk about black privilege, and I've said this in your chats multiple times, is that black privilege is the privilege to be unapologetically, openly racist towards white people in any capacity and never get any backlash. In fact, a lot of times if they get any type of backlash, they turn around with some reverse psychology and call that white person a racist, which is very odd to me. And so to me, black privilege is a form of power. Therefore, black people can't be racist. And when black people say they can't be racist, you know, if they call me a cracker honky, or they want to hit me or beat me up, or I've been shot before. But then if I turn around and I say the N-word, or if I say something like, you know, a stereotype or a joke and be like, oh, black folks love fried chicken or something like that, then they put me in the content of, oh, you're being racist. See, it can't be, it has to be the same energy on shape. We can't do different set of rules for different set of folks. Racist and racism, there's a terminology, and that terminology doesn't change. You know?
Yeah, I'm here. Just like
yeah. Can you see me? Okay, that terminology doesn't get changed by someone's skin tone. Okay, it doesn't. So I made a video this morning, and surprisingly, I saw the captain on there watching me. You said you wanted to do a video. I'm comfortable in my skin, and political correctness and ID politics has to go, and we need to call shit down the middle for what it really is.
All right, so now I've let him talk long enough before it's time for me to go ahead and start dissecting this and breaking this down. Okay. Family, you know we've covered this many times over here. Whenever you see, and I'm going to call him what he is, an anti-black racist and a white supremacist. And again, for those just joining us, this is not a new interview. This was done in 2018, 6 years ago. Check the beginning of the broadcast if you missed it. But we have to go ahead and drill down on something that I see a lot of black people doing. And for the men, we have to make sure that we take the tip of the spear in correcting this misnomer. You'll hear black people either saying, okay, we can be racist, or I'm not trying to be racist. Let's get this straight once and for all. This is why it's important to study the work of our grandmaster elder teachers like Neely Fuller Jr. Okay. If you do not control the 9 areas of people activity in America, you do not have the power to be racist. We black people can be prejudiced or bigoted, but we cannot be racist because we do not have the power to disenfranchise white people of anything in any way in any of those 9 areas of people activity just based on the color of their skin. They can do this to us, okay? You can even argue that they can do it in places on the continent, but that is definitely another broadcast for another time. We're going to deal with America right now. So see, during this interview, and let's be clear that when you're interviewing someone, you do want to let them get their points of view out and let them be heard. But I want you to pay close attention to how O'Shea begins to respond to him. And you can tell that his scope of knowledge back then was somewhat lacking as it is today. I make no bones about that. He says he's pro-black today, but you're going to see why now that even in present day, he has a lot to learn. Okay, nobody knows everything, but see, you're going to be able to tell one of the problems, not just within O'Shea Duke Jackson, but with a lot of black conservatives. They think they have some type of camaraderie with white conservatives, and they think that you can take race out of the equation, but you cannot. And see, you can clearly tell that by the statements that this John Paul guy was making here. Black privilege. How in the hell do any black person in America have privilege, the equivalent status of a white person in America? See, he was making these statements early on talking about, well, you know, it's only the elites that have the privilege and I'm just a regular working class white guy. But see, the problem, John Paul, and he knows this, but we're going to make it plain for the audience over here tonight. The problem, John Paul, is this. You have $1 million worth of whiteness, sir. You can pull a Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay. See, this was 6 years ago, but we're gonna look at everything that's happened since then. You can pull a Kyle Rittenhouse or a George Zimmerman, okay? And unless there's rock solid evidence, look at what Derek Chauvin, if we wouldn't have raised the hell we did, he would have been walking around free. You can do what those murderous race soldiers did to Breonna Taylor and still be walking around free. Okay, I could keep on going. If you wasting your $1 million worth of whiteness, that is not a black person's fault, but you still have it. As he keeps talking about, well, if he doesn't work, he doesn't eat. Let me tell you something, family. When you look at the racial wealth gap in this country between black people and white people, you better bet your ass that damn near every white person, even the ones that are homeless, are no more than 2 or 3 family members removed from somebody that has $100,000 in cash to spare to help them out if they so chose to do it. Now, whether they choose to do it or not is another story, but it's there, okay? These people, you don't get the enormous wealth gap that they have, and those people not have advantages that we don't have. Not just because they don't take advantage of them all the time, or they try to come and present to you like, oh, we just the same. No, we're not. Not only on the economic level are we not the same, but as we've seen in the media with our brother Jonathan Majors and several other incidents, okay? When we're accused of something, we automatically guilty. A white person, especially a white man, they get the benefit of the doubt above all other things. And see, when you have people like the brother O'Shea who consider themselves to be black conservatives, and you can be a black conservative without being a butt dancing coon, okay, that is possible. You can be a liberal without being a butt dancing coon. It goes either way. But when you have those, particularly over in that black conservative class, all right, they're very intelligent people, but at the same time, they're not well studied on racism and white supremacy. And we're going to tell you one reason why. Because they look at the facts about these things in the system as, oh, black people are just complaining and, oh, nobody's holding me down. I'm like, okay, you can say that, but when you look at the overall system and how it affects our people, then you start to sound very silly, trying to deny the obvious. See, if you're going to make progress in life, you don't deny what's right in front of your face. You acknowledge it so that you can find out a way to deal with what's in front of you, not pretend it doesn't exist. You tell me there's no such thing as racism and white supremacy, and then look down at what's happening to our brothers and sisters with the turkey leg hood. And that's just one example of many, okay? But I want y'all to pay attention to the answers he's going to give here, because, see, what you're going to grasp from this, he was not prepared to push back, and you're going to see some other things that's probably going to shock you. But, hey, let's let it get back to it here.
So that's my point of view, and that's my perspective.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. You're saying that that black people are using their privilege to be racist against whites, and that isn't right. Is that correct?
I'm not saying that all black people are doing this.
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
saying that by all means. But yes, I mean, you see it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You see it on the news. Black people use that card, the race card, the privilege card.
Mm-hmm.
Roland Martin had a TV show, literally, and all he ever did was talk about white people. I can only imagine if Roland Martin was white and he had a show and all he ever did was talk about black people and had white people on there talking about white people. I mean, black.
Notice what he just said there, that hold the race card thing. They always say we use a race card. Family, let's take the time to deal with that briefly. This magical race card that all black people have to just plunk down on the table of the system of racism and white supremacy in America like a spade card. If we had this magical card that we could use that they call the race card, okay, it's the ultimate trump card. Why is it that we're not able to punish these people when they mistreat us? Why is it that we aren't on equal footing with them across the board in the business and economic sector in America? Why is it that in the media we don't get fair coverage? If all we had to do was just play this almighty race card that they just fabricate. See, you have to remember something about the white supremacists. They project their behavior onto other people. It's one of the greatest tricks in the world, to be honest with you, because they haven't just used it here in America. These bastards have used this worldwide, and it's gotten to the point that only now are we starting to see organizations like BRICS come together to challenge the Western white supremacists for global supremacy on the world stage. That in itself is a broadcast for another day. But see, dealing with this situation right here, I want you to pay attention to everything that he says, because see, not only do you listen to him, listen to the responses that O'Shea is going to give him, and you're going to start to see where the problem is. Let's let it play.
People all the time. His career would have been over, and he would have been canceled way sooner than he did get canceled.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. You believe in this thing called accountability, right?
Self-accountability all the way.
Mm-hmm. So here's what I want to know. Malcolm X one time was asked about the murder of John F. Kennedy, and when they asked him about how he felt about it, you know what he said?
No, I don't know what he said.
He said the chickens have come home to roost.
Okay.
So, when we talk about, single motherhoods in the black community, and when black women complain about, let's say, black kids black boys that are like ghetto and can't do anything and they ain't shit. Well, what we say is to those black women, like, you're complaining about the problem that you created. I think what we're witnessing here is white people kind of open the door for this type with their own white privilege. And what they're seeing right now is the reaction of what they created with that system. And I'm not trying to say that it's not right on either side, but it seems like to me that, like The Godfather, if you remember the scene where they're talking about selling drugs in the Don Corleone said, we cannot sell these drugs. It's going to affect our own kids. And it did. I think what white people are seeing now is the effects of what they have done, and it's coming back. And now it's like, we can give punches, but we can't take it. It's like, oh, now we want equality. I'm not saying that it's not right on either side, because I do agree with you 100%. Black people can get away with murder. I can sit here all day and say the white man this and the white man that, and will nothing happen to me or my career. That is absolutely true.
All right. So let's go ahead and stop that right there and address that, because see, again, this is not just O'Shea, but this is indicative of a lot of black conservatives. Family, black people do not get away with murder in the literal or the figurative sense. In either way, let's go ahead and address this, right? It should be common sense, but we're teaching a lesson over here tonight. You're damn sure not going to literally get away with any kind of murder as a black person, because cameras are everywhere nowadays. And if you do something to a member of the dominant society, you damn sure going to get instant punishment. Unlike when they do something to us and it takes an act of God to get justice produced. So now let's deal with one of the things that the black conservatives always talk about. We all heard this before. What about black on black crime? Why y'all don't march when black people do something to each other? common sense should tell you that we don't have to do that, because if you do something to another black person and you get caught, you're going to get punished for it, okay? Now, contrast that to if anybody in the dominant society does something to you. We can name several cases. Look at what happened to the sister Tamala Horsford, okay? Look at what happened with Botham Jean. She damn near almost didn't get convicted, Amber Geiger, because of the cooning and buffooning in his family, okay, which that was completely disgraceful, all right? Then you go and look at all these other incidents where we see, like the brother there in Philadelphia that went on that hunting trip with them white folks, and then he didn't come back, but all the white people came back safe and sound. They shot and killed him. I could go on and on about these things, okay? There is no equivalent to us having privilege on the same level as people in the dominant society. So when anybody starts making that argument, talking about why we don't march and or what about black on black crime, you don't have to do that. You black and you do something in this country, you're going to be punished. So we get away with murder, and let's deal with the figurative that O'Shea said here. He said that he could say this or that about white folks and get away with it. I tell you what. Remember Cynthia G when she was doing that at first, and she came out saying this or that, they terminated her channel. Okay, they was about to anyway. And then when she came back, that's when you saw that she flipped over and went on over there and turned over a new leaf. We see what she's doing now. No need to go into detail. Okay, so if you start saying certain things about these folks on here, the right kind especially, or especially one with the little tiny hats, we all know who they are. Okay, we know who they are. You start talking about them, now you're not going to get away with that. So this whole thing, like when our people, and again, this was 6 years ago, all right? This whole thing, when our people get in front of these folks and then start trying to act like, okay, well, yeah, we do it too. We do not do anything on any level as people in the dominant society. We do not, okay? We do not. That is such a false equivalency to even try to make. But see, when you don't study the right things, I don't care how smart you are academically. I don't care what university you graduate from. You are lacking in something that could be a life or death issue if you're in certain situations in this country. But I want you to hear the exchange they're about to have, and then we'll continue to analyze it further.
And black people know this.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But what I'm saying is this. When we talk about in terms of privilege, that's a privilege. But when you talk about in terms of income, you talk about in terms of ownership. I mean, blacks are actually owning less houses than they did 50 years ago. You know, black people are actually doing worse. They're regressing, you know? So when I look at it in terms of privilege, if that's a privilege, because you can say things about white folks whenever you want, I don't think white people even really care about that. Do they? Do white people give a damn? Go ahead.
Keep in mind that when it comes to racism, that is one of the primary things that most black people that think we can be racist start to say, well, you can say stuff about white people. Again, that would be prejudice or bigotry on our part. It is not racism. You don't have racism without a power mechanism attached to it that can inflict punishment or deprivation on the people that you're also leveling words that are pejorative at, okay? See, this is the part they don't get. And really it's common sense, because if they stop themselves long enough to look around and see if what they're saying makes any sense, they realize that don't hold water compared to what you see in the real world. But hey, we're going to let them continue.
No, they do care. And see, here's the thing. We have to keep this in the content of the conversation of what we're talking about. Now, we can it's very easy to break off and say, well, listen, the black unemployment, the black school systems, the blacks are not doing as good what they were doing 50 years. We try to incorporate this into the conversation, but this is solely one layer of a big cake that has multiple layers. And I'm not saying that there's not a cause and effect, O'Shea, but what I am saying is this. It's a human thing, okay? It's a human thing. And listen, when you look at the stats, I'm about facts and I'm about stats, okay? And when you look at the interracial crimes, okay, and I was a part of that. I got shot in 2002 by a black person, okay? I've been in multiple fights, okay?
Now, notice he's going to be trying to use that a lot throughout this interview. Here's the question. What were you doing when you got shot by a black person? Because see, as this goes on and you hear this man's views, That's the question that a lot of you are going to ask. Like, okay, what were you doing? Like a black person just ran up and shot you for no reason. Where were you? What were you doing? What happened in that led up to that? I'm like them. I need some context. You know, they love to talk about context. John Paul, you didn't explain that, did you? And then even if you had, I'm pretty sure you would leave out the part where if you was out of pocket and a brother had to, or a sister had to defend themselves against you. See, I know these types because I was raised here in the South, okay, and I've traveled all around this country and around the world and have interacted with white supremacists, not only here, but abroad. They all have the same look, okay? They really do. And then when they start opening their mouths, believe it or not, this is the thing that would shock a lot of you if you started traveling. I don't care whether they're from the West or the East. They all have the same viewpoints when it comes to black people. That's something that will blow your mind once you start traveling and you see how these people think the same no matter which country or continent they're on. This is why I encourage y'all people to move around and travel as you're able to. But I want y'all to keep listening to the things that he's about to say, and we're going to tackle them one by one.
Mm-hmm. And the interracial crime is 8-2 when it's black on white than it is white on black. And when you have the media lying and making it look like, you know what, one white person goes and does something, and that's just rampant range. That's just going, that's the norm of America today. Okay. That's a big ass fucking lie. Okay. So the stats equate that. It is. It's no different, the basics, but it's no different that if you remember what happened last year, right? When the black kids or the black teenagers or whatever, you know, when they kidnapped that white kid on Facebook, and they said, fuck, and they kidnapped him, they made him drink toilet water, they beat the living shit out of him. Okay. That is a hate crime. If you look it up, the county took the hate crime off the table. Okay. If that was the other way around, we would be having another civil war. Okay. And that's a fact. All right. So yes, it does matter. And just because something happened that was out of my control, out of your control, because neither one of us, okay, we're slaves. I wasn't an owner. You weren't a slave. Neither one of we both agree that the Democratic plantation is alive and is breathing and is thriving. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So we got to go ahead and deal with this one here. And I'm going to do this in a way where it gives young black people listening to this all the ammunition you need to debunk that foolishness. They always try to pull this one out their little pale asses. Oh, I wasn't a slave owner and you wasn't a slave, so why do y'all need reparations? That's really where he really wanted to go. Go ahead and debunk this. Simple. This is why you should know your history. We were not slaves today, but we are their descendants. They are not slave owners, haven't been, but they are the descendants of slave owners. Okay. What those slave owners did to our people's families affects us to this day. Gonna say it again for the white supremacists that keep trying to pull this bullshit out their asses, because I've seen some black people get stumped on this. It's very simple if you know your history. What those slave owners did to our ancestors that were enslaved affects us economically, socially, mentally, all across the board to this day. You stole our lands. You made wealth off our people's backs. You worked them to death. So everything that you see today, a lot of the negative behavior can be traced back to what they inflicted upon our people. So yes, you do owe for that. Not to mention it's a legally owed debt, okay? It's a legally owed debt on the books. So if you want to throw it in there, we can go there too. All right? So now you keep saying that you wasn't a slave owner for the white supremacists that use this, not just John Paul. You wasn't a slave owner. And well, why should I have to pay for this? Well, because you inherited everything that those slave masters handed down to your families. See, like the old saying goes, I like to make it simple over here. I don't like to take you all around the world with like an extravagant vocabulary, even though I'm capable of doing that. I don't like to be trying to sound like the Grey Poupon, man. Sometimes you need to just make the shit plain. And making it plain means follow the damn money. When you follow the money, that gives you all the answers you need. We were the first stocks and bonds in this country. All these insurance companies that was founded and started off our ancestors' backs. Okay. All the inventions and the intellectual property you stolen, all the physical property you stolen, eminent domain, knocking down black neighborhoods. See, they don't want to play this game with somebody like me. I will walk the dog on your ass. And see, it's funny that the white supremacist John Paul here mentioned Roland Martin. I want you to keep in mind Roland Martin when he was in front of Richard Spencer, and then I want you to compare it to this as this interview goes on. But hey, let's let him get back to it.
But that doesn't give, it's still right is right and wrong is wrong. At the end of the day, people can agree to disagree with my ideology. But if I walk in the room, okay, and if I say a racial slur, if I call you O'Shea the N-word, okay, and I'm done. My career is over. I get fired. I got to go on an apology tour. I'm labeled and branded a racist the rest of my life. And you could walk and learn a book, all right, and nothing happens to you. That's a fucking problem. And I'm gonna call that situation out. Okay. All right. And I don't care. And if they want to bring up slavery and they want to bring up all that other shit, what does that got to do with right now at this very moment?
It has to do with the economic playing field right now in this moment. And that must be compensated for, because just like when you agree with a white person in a minor way, they want full justice. Full justice, okay? In every situation that you name where they have a grievance against somebody, especially a black person, they don't cut us no breaks. All right? So that's the reason why John Paul. And see, notice how he spoke on slavery, want to bring up slavery or that other shit. Nah, see, you can talk like that because it didn't happen to your people. All right? See, this is how you know you're dealing with a white supremacist versus a regular white person. If you're talking, because see, there is a difference. There is a difference. If you're talking to a regular white person, they would not speak of an atrocity, which is our Holocaust on American soil, the way he did, as if trying to dismiss it or talk derisively of it like that. They would answer the questions and speak like they got some sense. A white supremacist, they always get offended when you bring up the anything that they did wrong or that they should be producing justice and have to make compensation for what they've done to our people via reparations. That's how you can tell the difference. And see, that's really the main litmus test. You really want to find out what you're dealing with, start to just ask one of them, how you feel about reparations. Even if they try to lie to you, look at their faces. I always tell you to read people's faces in their eyes. When you look at their faces, when you ask them that question, that's when you're going to get the real fit. They're going to get nervous, start stuttering, try to change the subject. I mean, it's easy to spot these people, okay? So we're going to let this conversation go on because I told you, hold on to your hats. You're going to hear a lot that's going to offend you, and then you're going to be shocked at some of the pushback that O'Shea didn't give in this interview back then, okay? And it's going to help you understand his mind frame in present day too with a great number of things. You'll see. Let's let it continue.
I think I don't want to use the slavery argument because I don't think it's pertinent to what you're saying. So I'll grant you that. Okay. I think what we're dealing with is the hostility that has happened even from that. How, let's be honest, whites and blacks have a very terrifying relationship in this country. And so
I don't know if I agree with that all the way, but go ahead.
Terrifying in terms of, let me use a better word. There's a lot of resentment from blacks towards whites in many different ways. Okay. That goes from, economics, or it goes from, if you want to say Democrats or Republicans, who I believe neither party really has really been really gracious to blacks. Republicans are better, but we have to understand.
Okay, see, now you're starting to see a little bit of his mindset back then and today, because he still calls himself a black conservative. Notice that he called out both parties, but then he turns around and said Republicans are better. No. Neither party is better than the other for black people, because neither one of them so far has been about producing justice for black people. See, what a lot of black conservatives tend to do when they say that, they tend to look at the obvious things that the Democrats do. We cover them over here in these spaces. All right. The obvious things that they're doing as far as like ruining the economy, trying to force that agenda on everybody, so on and so forth. So they tend to say that, well, things are better under the conservatives. No, it's not, because see, you can't say that when they don't act to produce justice. See, let's make it plain. If you're gonna say that the conservatives are better than the Democrats, just based off the differences between the policies that most black people with sense don't support, then I need to see an overwhelming majority of conservatives saying, hey, no, we need justice for Breonna Taylor, okay? Hey, now let's go ahead and give these black folks their reparations. Now, if you've been paying attention to a lot of political climate, since they found out, a lot of the right-wing conservative white class, since they found out today that a lot of us who are calling for reparations, we're not calling for reparations for every single black person over here. We're calling for reparations for those of our lineage who were aggrieved by slavery, those of us who are descendants of American chattel slavery. Not every single black person, okay? That's not how that works. If you go to their country and something happened to their people, just because we had to share the same skin color, we would not be entitled to reparations for, say, apartheid if we went to South Africa. None of our bloodline is directly from there. Our family members were not over there at that time, and they were not afflicted. So that just blows any immigrants' claim to that out the water. So now when you start looking at this issue, talking about conservatives are better, why are they not in overwhelming numbers advocating for justice to be produced with black people who are wrongfully convicted and incarcerated? See, it goes across the board. Why don't you hear conservatives saying, hey, these corporations, man, y'all not really hiring, foundational black Americans like that. Well, we need to get them in here, you know what I'm saying, give them a fair shot. When it comes to the financial systems, why aren't the conservatives advocating that we get the same treatment as a white person with the same exact credit score when it comes to getting loans and, business funds and all of that? You don't hear that. So when you keep hearing people like that say, well, the conservatives are better. How? See, again, when you have these types of, when you're talking to somebody that understands what's going on in the real world and that's not just trying to fit in because that seems like, okay, you're trying to be contrary just for the sake of being contrary. I'm not saying that's what O'Shea was doing, but a lot of black conservatives will do that. And the other reason that they'll do it, they're trying to look good and get brownie points in front of white people. Say, see, I'm not like the rest of them. I will get up here and talk about black on black crime and all this other goofiness instead of holding their feet to the fire for their part in white supremacy. Okay. That's the part that a lot of the black conservatives don't get. But again, you're going to see the obvious flaws in this as it goes on. Let's let it continue.
Understand that, what did white people, and I hate to say this to you, but I'm going to tell you what whites have told blacks. Okay. Even when blacks are saying this is wrong. And I know this is not, you're not going to like this. That's right. Whites told blacks back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even now, they tell blacks when we complain about stuff, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's very disenfranchising the blacks to hear that, right? What I will tell you, or any person who's upset about it, I would simply say, you're not wrong. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's what I would tell you. And the reason why I would tell you, I think that if white people feel so alarmed that, we are being mistreated this way, then you get somebody like you tell us, stop voting Democrat. You should get somebody that represents your issues and take away that privilege you think that blacks have. I think the thing about it is this also. White people never knew the effect that racism would have on their descendants like yourself. Those people who are not responsible for what happened, like myself, right? We weren't involved in that. Now what's happened previously to you, your ancestors, not saying that you're direct ancestors, but it's affecting you now. It's affecting every white man in America who can't really say how they feel because they may get fired. That's the truth. That's a result of you not understanding that loophole. So I can't say that you're wrong because you're not in certain ways. Black people can get away with a lot of things, but it comes to the point. Well, what do you do about it? I think that's where white Americans who are feeling disenfranchised, what do you do about it? Where do you go from here?
Well,
so now you heard O'Shea lay out his argument, his counter argument rather, but see, here's what's missing from that. Besides the obvious fact that he doesn't understand or didn't understand, because this interview was 6 years ago, want to make sure I make that clear. It wasn't recent. He did not understand that he was dealing with a white supremacist. Like I said, this guy was a moderator over there on his channel. You heard him say that. Okay, I remember seeing the guy when he was over there. A lot of you probably remember seeing this. Okay, so in addition to not knowing what you were dealing with right in front of your face, when you make statements like, okay, well, you didn't have anything to do with it, talking about white people present day, that is another misconception and a misnomer. Yes, they do. Because many times I've had to point this out, and many other people in New Black Media have had to point this out. Just because they're not running around with Klan hoods on their head screaming nigga, 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 they are complicit in upholding the system of white supremacy. Even the so-called average grunt like John Paul. You know why? Because if a black person is accused of something, they marching their ass and they're right on that jury and they voting with their people to say, yeah, no matter what evidence, say, nigga, you guilty. Yeah. See, this is the part they leave out of that, all right? They leave out that practicing white supremacy and anti-black racism is not always an overt thing. It goes into upholding the system and committing injustice against black people. Now, they do it so much because they've been conditioned that they don't see it that way. And it's going to be evident when you hear John Paul talk a little bit more, because I'm pretty sure y'all get the picture by now. But see, O'Shea was not prepared to really have this conversation with this guy because, one, I'm going to tell you right now, you can tell that they be thinking that they have some type of camaraderie with these people because they're conservatives. But again, your reality as a black person in America and their reality as a member of the oppressor class, there's nothing that aligns where it's going to be the same. You basically walking parallel in different worlds. You don't have any camaraderie with these people. This is the problem with a space like the Black Manosphere. They tend to think they have some type of camaraderie. You'll hear them say this term, my brother from another mother. When you say that shit to a white man, they'll laugh, but in reality, they know you don't have a damn thing in common with them, nor are their goals the same in any area in society. They're trying to stay on top and keep your black ass at the bottom. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care how much they lie to your face, because see, when a situation comes up, whether it's them or you, they're going to show you where they stand every single time. But hey, like I said, we're going to learn a lot more on this here tonight. Let's let it continue.
I mean, you said a lot, and I'm going to try to touch on everything that you said. Okay. First of all, about the resentment, it starts in the home. It really starts in the home, okay? So Donovan Sharp had a very good situation that he talked about a couple of weeks ago about who's more racist, black people or white people. And he talked about how he was at a church, and he talked about how this black family really, these little black girls were really giving this little white girl the dirtiest look ever. And he happened to look and he said, you know, they don't even know this little girl and they're giving her that dirty look. And why am I bringing this into this conversation is that it starts in the home. And in my video that I made earlier today, I addressed.
Salute to my good brother Project Leroy and my good sister Black Mama for the Cash App. I appreciate you both very much. I will make sure that I have your names on the community tab about an hour or so after the broadcast ends tonight. But family, I want y'all to pay close attention to this segment of the conversation that they're about to have. I want you to listen to the words that he's using. And again, as I always try to teach you all of it, I want you to look at his face while he's saying it and then prepare to hear what O'Shea is going to say in response. Let's let him get back to it.
I have been in multiple black homes, okay? And black people, listen, let's keep it all the way funky here. There's a lot of black people who do not like white people. They don't care for white folks at all. But the irony is how do you sit up there and say you don't like white people, you don't even want to deal with them, and then you turn around and want to bitch about racism? I mean, the irony bells go off. Mm-hmm. It's like you want to stop you want to fight that, you want to have a program, but then you're selling crack out of your fucking garage door. Listen, when and where does it come? It comes from, okay, we can say slavery. It comes from the Democratic Party. I see a lot of black folks that live in these Democratic cities, okay? I'm not rooting for Donald Trump or the Republicans, but the facts are the facts. You can't live in Chicago, okay, and bitch about Donald Trump and the Republicans and white folks are racist when these are the these are aldermen that you vote in. These are the mayors. This is the mayor. These are the judges that you vote in.
Mhm.
All of this is ran democratically. Okay, then you have all these murders going on, but nobody talks about that. Okay, and black folks, especially woke black folks, want to say, well, you're trying to deviate and talk about black on black crime. Well, listen, name another city that has 800 murders and 95% of them are white on white.
Okay.
It's not happening. So a part of that.
Notice how, and see, this is the part right here that disappointed me when I saw this, where O'Shea sit here and let him get this off. There is no city in America where 95% of the murders are black people. Not even as bad as it is in places like Philadelphia. See, when you look, let's use our common sense here, because see, this is something that is being lost today with a lot of black people. Okay, unfortunately, especially those that are not well studied on what's really going on with the system of white supremacy and racism. Okay, those that don't even pick up any of our grandmaster teachers' work to try to see how what they've been talking about correlates to what we're living in present day. The white supremacists will pull fake stats out their ass just like you and I blink or breathe, okay? All you have to do is use common sense to know that when the murder rate is tallied up in any city, you have to go back and look at that and say, okay, it's not just black people doing the killing. To hear them tell it, they act like, okay, all the murders are just black people doing this. It's just only black people. When you look at it, crime is committed in the proximity of where you live. You kill where you live, okay? This is another reason why the stupidity of black on black crime doesn't hold water. You kill where you live. If you live in a predominantly white neighborhood and you're a killer or a murderer, chances are you're going to kill another white person. Same thing whether you black, Asian, East Indian, okay, whatever the case may be. All right. You see how when you apply common sense to this, you break that foolishness down. But see, O'Shea just let that slip. I would have checked them immediately. I'm like, show me one city where there's 95% of murders committed by black people on each other. Show me. Even in the worst areas. If you go back to the early 90s, it wasn't even no cities where 95% of the murders were just black folks. No. See, the thing about dealing with white supremacists, they can tell when they're dealing with a black person. Even if you're well-studied and educated like O'Shea, they can tell when they're dealing with a black person that don't really keep up with the facts and the numbers like that can give them pushback and say, wait a minute, let's go to this FBI crime statistic and look at who commits the most crimes where. Because see, when you go there right now, you see that white men lead in sexual assault crimes, okay, embezzlement. Oh, I could go on and on. You look at who leads in some of the worst crimes. In fact, when you look at crime across black society in America, it's actually down. Why do you think they have to harass people the way they do to try to just force in situations where they make it where they have to arrest you for something? See, this is why we try to teach those of you, if you're in confrontations with these race soldiers, don't try to fight that shit on the side of the road. No, have your day in court, because they're trying to agitate you and provoke you to make it be a situation where they can say, resisting arrest, obstruction, and all of that, and force you to be in a situation where now you have committed a crime. That's just how dirty these bastards are. But see, when you have people that are far removed from the black grassroots and studying these things, especially in his situation, he's out the country, they don't understand how to push back against people like a John Paul, okay? See, we going to make this make sense over here today. You know, when you come over here, this is a classroom. You're going to learn something. Let's let them continue.
That is, there has to be, and when you said, strap up your boots, that's another word for, hey, have some self-accountability, okay? If you got 5 baby mamas, if you dropped out of school, you sell drugs, okay? That's nobody's fucking fault but your own. It ain't the white man's fault. It's your bitch ass fault that you're in the position that you're in. Meek Mill is in prison because of Meek Mill, not because the white man wants to hold Meek Mill down. And when I see these black folks who are really the house Negroes for the white Democratic Party, these white elites, and what they do is they try to keep black people as victims. And that's where the resentment comes from. That's why you can have 3 black kids kidnap a white kid, go on Facebook Live and say, fuck white people, and do the things that they did because they're unapologetic.
Now, let's deal with what he just said right here, because, see, this is another thing they love to use. And salute to the sister Black Mama, because she brought up a very good point. When they start trying to deflect back with the truth. Point out they're mass white shooters raised by white single mothers most of the time. Oh, yeah, we got to go there with it. See, when you know the facts, you can hit them where it hurts. salute to you for bringing that point up, sister, because that's another good tactic to use. And see, we don't have to lie. All we have to do is tell the truth. But see, when you get people like John Paul trying to make these statements that he's making, they will pull some needle in a haystack exception to the rule instance of where a black person or black people, usually kids, do something to a white person. But is that the majority? No, it is not. Because see, when you go right now, go to the FBI crime statistic and look at who's the victim of the most hate crimes going back on 20-something years. It's black people. It's black people. This is why it was such a act of high treason when that coonish Congressional Black Caucus, okay, or the Congressional Black Talkers, as I like to call them, they didn't include us in that Asian hate crime bill because we're the ones with the most that are the most victims of hate crimes. All right. And that's when they're reported. You see what I'm saying? So this is why we don't cut our traitors a pass. All right. So now when you look at white supremacists like John Paul that like to try to deflect and use straw man arguments, this is something I'm going to have to start teaching more of our people how to counter a straw man argument, because particularly I want two groups amongst black society to learn how to counter straw man arguments and recognize what red herrings are. OK, things that don't have nothing to do with the subject at hand. You always counter a straw man argument with a steel man argument. Basically what that is, you ask questions to clarify what the person is saying, make sure you get an understanding, and then you frame that in a way where you dismantle the straw man argument and you present the argument that is the one that is best to deal with, the one that keeps it on the focus of the subject matter. That's called steel manning and a straw man argument. That's how you knock that shit out the water every time. And if they don't try to address that, then you can clearly call them out and say, okay, see, you're moving the goalpost. You see what I'm saying? But see, a lot of times what our women and our young black people do, you let the white supremacists trigger you emotionally and they get you upset. Overstand this. I always address things from a standpoint of warfare over here on this channel. When you are emotionally upset and distracted, you can't make clear decisions. You won't be able to give the best responses. Don't let these people trigger you. Just keep in mind that when you engage in a conversation with a white supremacist, everything that's coming out their mouths is going to be a bunch of lies. And see, the best way to dismantle a lie is to be well-versed and well-studied on the truth. Okay? Salute to the brother Keith B for the cash out. But I want you to bear that in mind, family, as we get back to analyzing this. Let's let it continue.
Because they know, I mean, they're going to go to jail, but they know there's no backlash because no white people are doing that to black people. There's no knockout game where white folks are running up and punching black people. That's not happening. And so we have.
Oh, but those school shootings were happening back then too, John Paul, but you didn't want to talk about that though, did you?
Have to talk about the elephant in the room. And listen, I know a lot of black folks don't like to have this conversation because they get hypersensitive, they get triggered, and they get fucking butthurt. Oh, fucking well. It's facts over your feelings. And I don't care about anybody's feelings. I care about the facts.
Well, let's talk about some of the facts. Now, I will agree. You do have some cases of white, some knockout games are, but here, let's just be honest. That's not very prevalent. You don't see the majority of, or even in crimes that blacks commit, they're not just, let me go, like when blacks do crimes, for the most part, as white conservatives say, they do it to themselves. So really, white people are not in a very, very big threat of blacks.
Listen, coming from a guy who's been jumped, coming from a guy who has been shot by a black person, okay? Now, I don't know if that black person was a racist or not, but the point is this. The interracial FBI crimes do not lie. Okay?
Well, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, right? But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, and to be fair, you're a white person that kind of identifies with black culture. You're a rapper. You hang around with black people. So, I mean, obviously, with you date nothing but black women. Okay, you're more likelier to be a suspect. I mean, not suspect, but to be right. Here's where.
And see, again, I'm going to say it one more time for clarity and to be clear and fair. This was 6 years ago, but you can see where his mindset was. He just rattled off that list. You date black women. You're trying to be a rapper. You hang around mostly black people. That shit don't mean a goddamn thing. You have a lot of our people that fools them, especially when they start looking at things from the political lens and not realizing that conservative and liberal are interchangeable to white people depending on what their goals are at the time. See, that's the problem with when you start leaning over towards these political agendas when the common denominator is white supremacy. Them doing none of that shit don't mean nothing. Let me tell you something. The white people that I'm cool with, you can't come around me with the yo, yo, yo and the black shit. No, you need to be a regular white person. I don't want to hear that. No, don't, because I don't trust those that do that, okay? You can't come around me and my people talking like that. Those are the ones, look, tell you what, did y'all see that news story that just came out recently about that white chick that got caught up out there? She was protesting out there with the black folks. All right. Oh, yeah. Got the sign held up and come to find out her ass was a federal informant. Yeah. See, these are the ones, like I've always told you, if you have a white ally or somebody that's really cool with you, they're not trying to be up under you like that, because if they're serious about helping black people, they know they can get more done away from black people and not being seen to be associated with black people. Because even today, if they're up under you, most of their society say, oh, you one of them nigga lovers, huh? Okay, yeah, we know not to trust you. The best way for a white person to help you is to stay away from you and feed you information and resources, you know what I'm saying, to help you. That way their cover is not blown if they're serious about it. But see, I just wanted to throw that part in there because, see, like I said, it's very sad when you see some of our people, even if they're very intelligent, college educated, that still get it wrong on this. And this right here should be a lesson that even if you have a college degree, when it comes to the matters of racism and white supremacy, that college degree ain't going to help you if you're not studying the works of our grandmaster teachers, if you're not connected to the black grassroots, and if you're not having real, honest conversations with other black people about what's going on in the black community, okay? So this is a lesson that's going to be very important to learn over here tonight. Let's let them get back to it.
What you're talking about is, yes, I will give you all of that. But when we want to talk about privilege, I would have to say, has everything to do, and when we talk about privilege, is economics. And so we got to look at this. Whites are still, in comparison to blacks, when you look at the numbers, who makes more money? Who makes, who's graduating college at higher rates? There are things that have been done to black people post-slavery that have hindered black people from developing. Whether you want to say, oh, that's the Democrats' fault, or the Democrats and white Republicans have both played a hand in the black demise. And we would be sitting here lying and saying that they have not. And so when you get a Meek Mill and you say that's your fault, well, that is true. Individually, people can make and stuff like that. But white people have played a very, 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 very good hand in stopping some black progress here. Let's tell the truth. Okay.
I'm not denying that. Here's what I want to say. Go ahead. Here's
what I want to say. When we look at privilege, yes, it's true. Black people can say whatever they want to say about whites and they can get away with it. But we talk about it in terms of the capitalist version of America, which we talk about. Whites are dominating at a higher rate. Well, when you say privilege, I'll really actually believe you when I see whites and blacks making more money than whites all the time. Most time. Blacks have a higher ownership. Blacks graduating college at the same level as whites. Those things are still dominated by whites. And so really, when you look at blacks, they are the least privileged people in the context that really matter in America. You know that, and I know that. Why is that? We both know that white people have had a lot to do with that. So in terms,
see, now here's the thing. He's trying to give him pushback to the best of his ability at the time where his knowledge was 6 years ago. Okay, because again, this was 6 years ago. The problem, two problems that I'm seeing here. You're not coming out and calling it exactly what it is, white supremacy, and you're not pointing out that even when black people go into all the areas that he named and we achieve a certain amount of success, we're the only group in this country where we are actively sabotaged by people in the dominant society. You need to make it plain when you confront these people, okay? And so you have to be taught to know how to do that. Again, I'm not even punching down at the guy, but we have to point out the flaws of this and make sure that other people understand that when you confront these people, you go in there with the facts and you don't let them change the subject. You don't let them bring out straw man arguments. You go ahead and remove the red herrings out the picture and you hit their ass with facts present day and show them how everything that goes on today connects back to the past and history, okay? That's how you have to handle these people. But Like I said, he trying to do the best he can, giving them pushback, but you gonna see where he starts to fall short at. Let's let it continue.
In terms of when you look at the bank account and ownership and shit that matters and passing down generational wealth, hey man, black people have been affected by policies that whites have started. And if we want to say that doesn't trickle down, that's being dishonest.
No, a lot of what you said, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. But we're kind of getting off the topic of what we originally were talking about.
How is it off the topic though? The reason why you're talking about privilege, right?
Yes.
Was privilege just the privilege of just to talk shit about white folks, and that was the end of the conversation?
No,
Okay.
that's not. But what I'm
Okay.
saying to you is this. What I'm saying to you is there has to be some self-accountability, O'Shea. I'm not saying that white folks did not play a hand, okay? Everybody knows that Bill Clinton signed the mass incarceration and the 3 strikes. Everybody knows he locked up more black men than all the presidents combined, okay? That's a fact. We know.
See, this is another thing that they try to do also. I know those of you gathered here with us tonight understand this tactic that the Jean Paul white supremacists is using right here. They always try to paint racism and white supremacy as, oh, it's the Democrats. It's the Democrats. Bill Clinton. Yes, Bill Clinton did write the 3 strikes law. Yes, Jim Crow Joe's name has been on every crime bill since 1976. According to his own mouth, you can verify it to the point that even stomped down hardcore, may he rest in peace, white supremacist and former Klans member Strom Thurmond even voted against that in 1994. Here's the part that they leave out. The laws that these so-called liberals and Democrats put on the books, the conservatives use them. I'm going to say it again. The laws that the Democrats put on the books, the conservatives use them. Who do you think it is investing in the school to prison pipeline? Who do you think it is that have stocks in all these prisons? You see what I'm saying? See, you can't see that when they start trying to act like it's just that party, just them, the Democrats. No, it's both. They work together. All you have to do is look at how when issues come up regarding us being compensated for slavery with reparations, both of them are lockstep in unison on that. And many other issues when it comes to dealing fairly with black people in America. They're on the same page. There is no difference. So that's something that young black people need to be aware of. Don't let them try to paint racism and white supremacy as, oh, it was just the Democrats. No, all you have to do is look at history and you will see how it's both of them. But let's let it continue.
But there has to be some self-accountability, okay? And there are a lot of black people that are out there that are successful, that are getting it, that are doing it, that don't have a chip on their shoulder, that does not blame whitey, okay? There's a lot of black people that own businesses, that own companies. I know a lot of black people that make 6 figures and more, okay? So they're not like the special unicorn that just you rarely ever see. They're out there. Okay, likes to manipulate and make it seem like they're not. And when we talk about, I'm just throwing this out there, when we talk about South Side of Chicago, when we talk about these shitholes, okay, and there's no jobs, the education sucks. Yes, I agree with you 100%. That is all ran by the liberal policies, okay, and it's the white liberals. And I'm sorry, and listen, a lot of your fans might not like what I'm about to say, but a lot of black folks have sold the black community down the river for money, for power, okay? Maxine Waters, Al Sharpton, I can name a whole list of them, okay? And the black community, instead of saying,
I want you to catch what else John Paul is trying to do too, because see, this is why you have to understand how deceptive the white supremacists can be. Yes, all of those people that he named are complicit, but I can show you their Republican counterparts also. You see what I'm saying? See, they keep trying to shift it. What about this? Ronald Wilson Reagan, okay. All of his names have 6 letters in them, by the way, too. If you look at that, 666, I won't go there, okay. Then you start to look at George Bush, his policies towards black people, all right? Oh, yeah, see, for every Democrat that you can name, I can show you a Republican that has done the same or if not worse. Oh, yeah, the Republicans are just more upfront about it. That's the only difference. That is the only difference. So, see, now, if you take a naive young black person, they'll catch that part of what he's saying, but he knows he's lying by omission because, see, they never talk about what happens on the other side that was done towards black people, okay? They just want to leave that out. That's the part that our young black people have to be trained to watch out for. But hey, let's let them get back to it.
Hey, you know what? It's Donald Trump. It's these Republicans. They need to look at these black leaders and say, hey, you haven't done shit for 30 years. This community is still a shithole. We got to get you out. But they continue to play the victim card. They keep shoveling victimhood for cereal, for lunch, and for dinner.
Okay, now watch this. I'm going to show you another way that you debunk this foolishness when a white supremacist tries this, because what he said is true. Yes, we know the problem that a lot of silly black people have voting for that damn accursed Democrat Party. Because see, when you criticize the Republicans, they automatically think that you're a damn Democrat. When those of us who are on code have sense, we don't have loyalty to either political party, okay? So just like he said, well, they haven't done things for the last 30 years, 40, 50 years, whatever the case may be. You can say, yes, you're right. And neither have the Republicans done anything to help black people in the last 30, 40, 50 years. You see how that works? See, you stay on their ass with the truth. And you have to understand history and the facts to be able to do that. And see, here's the other thing that you need. And I'm speaking primarily to young black people so I can educate them on how you deal with this. The first thing you're going to need going into it, besides knowing history and the facts and what happens in present day, you can't go into a debate or a conversation or any type of engagement with these people thinking that, okay, whatever the white person says must be right. But see, a lot of black people don't realize that's how they engage these people. They think that when you hear some little thin pink lips moving, that whatever they say is right. These people lie, man, so much they don't even know what the truth is anymore. Why do you think they're trying to take critical race theory out to schools today? They don't want their real history taught. But see, it's up to us to make sure that we don't forget that and we teach our children what they're dealing with, because it affects them in present day and it will affect them in the future. Let's let them get back to it.
This is a culture that has to get changed. It has to get changed. It has become the new normal to be victims, to go into it and say, you know what, I can't, there's no way. What's the point of living, making in this world because the white man's holding me down? That is a big ass fucking lie. And we can agree to disagree on that, O'Shea. But I know that you know successful people that make it. You're a living proof of it. You're in a different country pursuing your dream. Okay. And the only person that can stop you from doing that is the person in the mirror. I'm not saying that that other stuff doesn't play a part in it. I'm not saying that, okay? This is a real actual fact, and I hope that the people watching look this up. In 2016, okay, a life is a life, okay? So the number, it doesn't matter if the number is 1 or if it's 100, it's still a life. But 16 black people, men, got killed unarmed by the cops. That same year, over 70 blacks got killed by other blacks. But yet I don't hear nobody talking about that. When they had the march of Let's Live, whatever, about the gun control, they didn't bring that up. They don't bring up any of that shit. But they bring up Colin Kaepernick wanting to kneel. They bring up cop and police brutality. But yet these cops are going into war zones. I mean, let's keep it all the way real, okay? At the end of the day, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. There has to be self-accountability in all the communities, and we just can't do the blame game and say it's because of this and that and this and that, and that's the reason why I walk around saying fuck these white bitches, fuck you, you white boy cracker, and the knockout game, sell drugs in the community. I go to prison and it's pity on me, and they're picking on me. Cut the bullshit. I ain't with it.
Okay, so let's deal with that little tirade that Mr. John Paul went on here. First and foremost, you're right. There does need to be self-accountability. See, that goes to show you the level of his intelligence. Why wouldn't you just say accountability? If you're saying accountability, it goes without saying that you're talking about yourself. See, boy, people like this, I would have ate his ass alive had I been present for it to respond on this interview. But see, let's go ahead and deal with what he's saying. When you start talking about the cops are going into a war zone, okay, well, let's look at where are the children getting the guns from? Since they like to talk about Chicago, and I did a thread on this on Twitter years ago, okay? Let's see, I'm going to show you why they don't like to talk to people with common sense. When you look at how the gun laws are set up in Chicago, and anybody from Chicago is there, you can't just go in there and walls and buy class 3 weapons, okay, like that. They're not really gun shops there like that because of the laws. Where are these children getting the guns from, John Paul? See, you don't want to talk about that part. You don't want to talk about the part where they have crates and shit in alleys, leaving them there. Just like when you go back and look at the protests and the uprising in 2020 when they was running around dropping pallets of bricks off for black people to go and break shit up? Who was responsible for that? See, they don't like talking to people like me that can make shit make sense. Yeah, we gonna go here with it. See, he wouldn't have stood a chance against me in this interview because, see, let's deal with something else he keeps talking about. He keeps talking about, okay, how many white people are victims of crimes? Of course, the police shoot more white people, but see, here's the difference. When those white cops do that to white people, they get punished immediately. When they do that to a black person, you see what we all have to go through just to get them in court, let alone get a conviction. See, you have to know how to counter these people when they start spewing this bullshit at you. You can't just sit there, No. See, this is why we promote learning as much as you can over here in New Black Media Spaces, so you don't have to sit here and let them get that off. Because they think they'll be cooking when they start pulling all this bullshit out their ass. Because, see, why he talking about self-accountability, that term, since he wants to use it, well, John Paul, why don't we see you talking about the injustice that happens to black people when they are murdered by these race soldiers unjustly? See, they always try to paint themselves like they're the good guy. But notice, if you're going to be the good guy, then you should be speaking up for what's right. They don't do that. They just want to tell you how much, you shouldn't call it out. See, what he calls bitching about racism is us pointing out the truth. When you show them the truth and they can't argue with it, you just bitching about it. Do you see how demonically insane these people are? And again, I'm going to remind all of you, just in case you just joined us, while John Paul is talking, look at his face and his eyes when he gives his response. Let's let him get back to it.
I can't disagree with what you're saying, man. I tell that to people here. I'm a conservative. I'm a black conservative, self-identified. I would see you say Donald Trump supporter. But I'm a moderate conservative. And what I do also know is, you're talking about blacks that are successful, and you do know them. I know them. I'm trying to be one of them. But when we talk about privilege, that means advantage. Privilege is synonymous with advantage, having one up over the other. If I have a privilege over you, that means if you walk into a building, and standing in line, I can cut in the VIP and get in. That's what privilege means. If we see black people who have tons of success at the same levels that, let's say, whites have that success, okay, then I can say, black privilege exists. And I think what you're saying is, I can't argue with that. Black people definitely can say whatever the fuck they want to say about white people and get away with it. Yes, play the black card. Absolutely. You know what I mean? The black card is something that you can play.
Now, you heard that statement just come out of his mouth. What did I tell you about these black conservatives? Again, this was 6 years ago. I would love to ask him today, do you still think black people have a black card that we can play? See, let's talk about the black card for a minute. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the black card and the white card. Can you take this so-called black card that we have, okay, and do what Brock Turner did and play your black card and get the same treatment that the judge gave him, and the judge tells you because after you committed sexual assault that he don't want to ruin your life? You think you can play your black card then? I'm just trying to figure out if this black card works like the white card. Because, see, Brock Turner had his white card and it worked for him. We saw how that turned out. Can you go commit mass shootings? All right. And then the first thing they said in the media, the mainstream media, is, what about your mental health? Well, he was a good person, this, that, the third. Do the black card work in that fashion too? Does it? Let me tell you something. We have some very silly, educated black people in black society. Very silly, educated black people. For him to sit up here in front of a white supremacist and admit and say that we have a such thing as a black card, I'm like, where have you been? Well, he was out the country, but like, where have you been as far as paying attention to what's going on with your people for that to even come out your mouth 6 years ago? See, this is the problem. Once again, when you start trying to align with these political parties, see, you have to ask this question also, whether it's a liberal or conservative. Why are you so loyal to these damn political parties that don't do nothing for your people? What are you trying to prove? What's in it for you? What do you think that's going to give you over the average black person, you being so enamored and loyal to the liberal or the conservative party? So you have to ask some common sense questions. But see, this is why you have to train your children, because even if they're very smart as far as like book smarts and academic wise, you do not want your children to grow up and be missing the critical and life-saving knowledge about how the system of racism and white supremacy works. That's a life or death thing for black folks, okay? That's not something that we can afford to be willfully ignorant of, okay? I want y'all to listen to the rest of this exchange he's gonna have here, because like I said, y'all, if you think that, you know, you heard him do some buck dancing before, you listen to how he was talking 6 years ago. Let's let it continue.
But at the same time, you know, when we look at what drives America is who owns this, who runs these economies. That's what runs America. You know, that's how America's so great. You understand? And I think that when we look at blacks are not on the same level as whites, even when, listen to this though, even when black people were not selling drugs. You understand? And that's a tough pill to swallow. And we're 50 years ago is not so far away. We're not so, you know, it's not, you know, when blacks were the, you know what I'm saying, the Christian loving, turn the other cheek, you know, upstanding black citizens, like that's what white people say. You know, you guys need to be more like, you know, maybe like you used to be. You're not saying it directly, but indirectly, like you need to have your own community. Like, and when blacks were like that, they were really treated as the worst. You know what I'm saying? And even in those times, even now, blacks are still very behind. You understand? So
now, see, I want you to understand how a person begins to sound schizophrenic. He clearly has a general knowledge of what happened to black people. And then you say that in present day, we're still behind. So now, family, how is it that we have a black card to play if he just admitted that? Do you see how insane that sounds? When you start leaning over towards either side, whether it's liberal or conservative, to the point that you start agreeing with white supremacist talking points, talking about a black card, but then you turn around out of the same mouth that you said that out of, and you acknowledge the situation where we're behind at the socioeconomic bottom, so on and so forth. So now, if that was the case, where's this magical black card that all of us are supposed to have to play to get us out of that situation? You see what I'm saying? You don't have to be a multi-degree scholar. All you need is common sense to catch the foolishness when some of these black conservatives start talking this way. Let's let it continue.
When you say privilege, man, besides that one thing, being able to talk about, you know, shit about whites or whatever like that, I would need more things from you as to where are blacks doing better than whites economically and things that matter in this country to actually say that black people are really privileged outside of that.
So my question to you is, O'Shea, is outside of the white elite, okay, that run these companies, that have this grandfathered old money, if you will, what about the average white person like myself? And there's hundreds of thousands to millions that go to work just like you, if you were my next door neighbor, trying to take care of their family. Where's their privilege at? Because this is what I see. I think I'm looking at it from a local level, and you're looking at it from a national level. Okay. See, on the local level, and I'm breaking it down on a local level, what privilege does John Paul have? Okay, we already know that black women, and you've said this in your videos, they can say about anything that they want. A black feminist woman could say anything, and she's not going to catch any hell from it. And on the bottom of that totem pole, a white conservative man better shut his fucking mouth and better stay in his place. Well, John Paul's breaking out of that fourth wall, and I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to be censored by anybody, and I don't do political correctness. But my question to you is, for the millions of white Americans that have to go to work 80 hours, 40 hours, the 2 household income to take care of their family, what privilege do they have, O'Shea? Because from their standpoint, they're like, I can't say anything. I can't even say I support Donald Trump without getting called a racist. But my neighbor 8 years ago, Obama this, Obama that, and I voted for Obama because he was black. So from their point of view, they're like, listen, let's keep it all the way real. Okay, we can't have this double standard, and it's extremely obvious. So when you're talking about white privilege and black people don't have privilege, you're talking about on the high end. You're talking about people that own 4 or 5 houses and they actually control and they make things happen in America behind the scenes. And I'm talking about the local level of the John Pauls, of the.
Let me stop this jackass right here, okay? I'm going to answer your question, John Paul. I'll tell you what privilege that the John Pauls have. You, even if you lost your job or quit your job, you could go out here and have 100 bricks in your backyard, be slinging dope left and right, going cross country with it. And when you get caught, you won't get the same sentence that they'll throw at a black person. In fact, if you're in good with certain white people, they can get that swept under the rug, John Paul. Yeah, I'm going there with it. You know, you keep talking about this black card and all of this. You know, both of them at this point, the black card. You show me where the black card helped Jonathan Majors at, right? Show me where the black card helped our brother Nate Parker at when he was accused of what he was accused of. Show me where the black card helped our brother George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, okay, Trayvon Martin, Tatiana Jefferson, all right? Yeah, Freddie Gray, all right? Show me where the black card helped all of these victims of the system of racism and white supremacy. You see, when he starts trying to make himself look like, oh, I'm just a common everyday white man, I'm going to tell you like the late, great Paul Mooney said. If you hadn't figured out how to use this white skin and the system of racism and white supremacy where everything is built to help you fail up, just like we see happen with Iowa, shout out to the champion, Sister Angel Reeves and the LSU Tigers. I'm going to keep saying that. When you are in a system where it's built to help you fail up and you hadn't figured out how to capitalize on your whiteness, that's a waste of white skin. It is. It's a waste. What are you doing? You're at the top of the socioeconomic totem pole. Everything is built to help you. You got systems in place to help you cheat. Your people are constantly sabotaging black folks. Okay. If you get in trouble, hey, they're worried about your mental health. They're trying to, you know what I'm saying, see why you did what you did. The media looks out for your reputation, tries to hide your identity when you commit crimes, especially against black people. If you can't make it in a system, and I'm leaving things out, that's just the short list. If you can't make it as a white person in this system, I don't know what to tell you. That's a you problem. You chose not to be a success. You see, you can take the John Paul, since he's trying to everyman himself in white society and say he doesn't have any privilege above anybody else. It's only the elite 1%. You can go in and apply for a job with half or even none of the credentials that a qualified black person has with a degree and experience in the field. If that person is another white supremacist that's in charge of the hiring, you will get the job, John Paul, and you know that. You know that. Family, like I said, he got the right one when they conducted this interview, because I would have debunked this bullshit 6 ways from Sunday. Let's let him continue.
Of the Beckys who's trying to take care of the families just like the black family. And they can't ever be vocal about how they truly feel without being labeled a racist. And that is a fucking fact. Okay. And we could say, we could bring up slavery, we could bring up everything under the sun. All right. It doesn't change the fact that shit's not right. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Okay. And do you think black people can be racist? That's my question to you.
Yes.
Well, that makes 2 of us. Okay.
Yeah,
But
I think under the definition of racism as it is, you can't read the definition of what racism says and says, oh, this is not pertaining to blacks. According to the definition, I think black people have their own version of reason why they do it. I think it's in a definitive way. And I think they have evidence as to why maybe they should. But here's the thing. You're saying that, what's your privilege, you being in the middle class?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, somebody was calling in.
Now, did you hear O'Shea when he said that regarding racism, he's trying to say that, okay, we can match white people as far as being racist on the same level. Did you hear that part, family? And see, again, this was 6 years ago. I want to make sure I keep saying that. We got to put this in its proper context because I want to be fair with my critique here. noticing a lot of his content, and I've covered it on this channel, where he keeps saying, I'm not trying to be racist or anything. You don't have the power to be racist, O'Shea or any other black person. You do not. I challenge you to show me where a word that you say against a white person can stop them from getting a job, can make their kids go to bad schools, can put their lives in danger, can get them off of crimes they've committed. Show me where your words, because that's what they keep saying when they talk about racism. Name calling alone is not racism. You show me where any black person in America has the power to jump. Look, let's really make this sound as stupid as it sounds when a black person, not just O'Shea, tries to say this. Family, everybody gather here in this chat room tonight. I want you to tell me how ridiculous this sounds to you, or if it sounds ridiculous at all. I'm going to give you a hypothetical scenario. Imagine any black person, whether wealthy or the poorest of the poor, walking into a corporate boardroom or a setting where white people have power and control and say, listen, from this day forward, I'm going to do whatever I want to do around here. You know what I'm saying? And start calling white people whatever name you want to call them, and tell them that, hey, when I leave this room, I'm going to change your whole lives. I'm going to make sure that you lose your position as CEO. Okay, your kid's going to go to this school over here. We're going to disenfranchise you. I'm talking about you just start laying out a whole bunch of stuff, and you tell these white people how it's going to change. And you call them names while you're doing it. Does anybody in their right frame of mind in this chat room believe that any white person would take that black person serious? I'll wait. Somebody tell me if you think that what I just laid out, white people would be like, oh my God, did you hear what that black person said? They're going to play their black card and we're going to be disenfranchised. Do you see how stupid that sounds? My God, when I hear black people saying that kind of foolishness, it pisses me off, because all you have to do is use common sense. You see what I'm saying? You see how silly it sounds when you actually say these things out loud. Sometimes that's what you have to do with stuff like that, family. Say it out loud and think about it. Does this make sense? Oh my God. Hey, let's let them get back to
it. Here's the privilege I think that any person has. And shout out to my man Eastwood, Mr. Grandora. Hold on one second. Let me Dan the Mentor, great discussion. I'll show you. This is going to be a good one. And guys, for those people who want to subscribe to John Paul, Ted Randolph, good day, sir. Now, why did you get shot and where were you? Okay, we're going to talk about those things. Guys, if you want to subscribe to John Paul's channel, just real quick, press 1. I will put his YouTube link here. And we will do this. So this is what I will say.
And I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. O'Shea, and this was 6 years ago. I want to make sure I say that just in case somebody's just coming in. This is not new. O'Shea, if you really understood that you were dealing with an anti-black racist and white supremacist brother, why did he have a moderator wrench on your channel? Why the hell was you promoting this channel over there? You see, you talking to him, but you don't recognize what you're talking to. See, let me tell you the mistake that brothers like this often make. Because again, I'm not punching down or picking at him. I'm trying to teach you, okay? So this is not what that's about. But this is a flaw and it must be pointed out. Somebody got to say it. The problem that people that are academically inclined, like the brother O'Shea, because he's a very intelligent guy. Like I said, believe it or not, he is an actual medical doctor. He did graduate medical school. Okay, he's currently over on the continent right now, has his own studio doing production over there. Again, this was 6 years ago. He's made a lot of progress in his life since then. But as far as his views on racism and white supremacy, as you can see here, he didn't understand that he was dealing with a white supremacist. See, they be thinking that when you have these discussions, it's just a debate. No, this is life or death anytime we confront these goddamn demons. It is not a matter of opinion or agree to disagree when we're dealing with white supremacists. When you're talking about the oppression of my people and you dismissing it and you trying to promote white supremacist talking points as a white person, no, that's not a agree to disagree. That's not a small thing. If I'm going to engage you in discussion, it's going to be to dismantle that foolishness so that anybody that sees it understands that this is how you deal with that. Because, see, their lies in the real world have consequences for black people. I'm going to say that again. The white supremacist lies in the real world have consequences for white people. Unlike black people, whether we tell the truth or tell a lie, that really does not threaten them. It doesn't. See, this is the issue that I have with a lot of them that have that black conservative mindset. But again, I want y'all to listen to the rest of it. Let's let it continue.
here is the here is the advantage that white people have. Right now, it's I would argue with you to your point that it is no longer in underneath statutory law like it wasn't Jim Crow. That as a white person, you're going to be able to get a loan, and this black person can't. You made a very good point in your show, saying that hey, credit score is what it is. In the United States, it's pretty much like that. What white people do have over black people, and certain Asians do, and other people that we see, is number one, it's already been embedded in the minds of everybody that a white person is just better, and whether you want to believe that or not.
And whose mind though?
And even with black women, I will tell you this: the advantage that you may have over me is you can give somebody a mixed baby. So just right off the bat, if you don't believe me, bro, one day I'm gonna send you a ticket to Africa, and it's not just the white privilege in America. If you go to Africa, you will see for yourself, and if anybody can attest to this, white guy shows up in Africa, oh my God, off the rip, you probably are more likely to be able to get any black woman more so than myself, because people automatically assume that you're in the middle class, you're smarter, you know what you're doing, you're more manageable with your time. This is what white people have taught other people to think about white folks.
Yeah, but the problem with that.
Let's stop and deal with that right there. We got to deal with a couple of things. First and foremost, as somebody that has been to the continent many different times myself, I have been to well over 25 different nations there over the course of years, and I have gone not in a tourist capacity. So when I speak on certain things regarding many different countries in the continent, I know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. I can name you certain streets right down to what the people are doing over there right now in real time if I wanted to. Let's deal with what he brought up. There is some truth to that. When you go to certain countries in African nations, the white guys, let me tell you something, boy. Oh, yeah. Boy, listen, you can see right now, you can pick damn near any African country. Anybody that's from the continent, listen to this. I'm not about to lie when I say this. It's nothing to see a 60, 70-year-old white man with a 23-year-old fine-looking African sister. Oh, yeah, because, see, they have this viewpoint in their mind the way they were taught to think, unfortunately, by some of their parents, not all, but a lot. They're taught to think that every white person is rich. Okay, every white person, okay, if you can get with him, you're going to be a success. The men and the women now. I'm not just putting this on the African women. A lot of the African brothers over there tend to think if you get you a white woman, you reach the promised land. That is the truth. However, let me tell you something else. If you're a foundational Black American, when you walk into any building or the room, the energy changes. Yes, he would be considered number one until you show up if you got your shit together. And I ain't talking about flashing a bunch of money. No, I'm just talking about our natural ability to be charismatic. So now, when you walk into that presence, and this is something y'all gonna have to put to your test and not just take my word for it. You're gonna have to go and see for yourself. When we show up, especially those of us that are already established, that are very seasoned with how to deal with women, especially of our own kind, it's over with, man. The white dude don't stand a chance. Ask me how I know. Yeah, I had never been in no situation in none of them countries over there where I'm trying to shoot my shot at something because a white guy was present that they ignored me and paid attention to the white guy. Yeah, you ran the yard before I got there. When I get there, party over with, player. There's better luck next time. Here's a consolation prize. We'll holler at you on the way out. And that's how that goes. I'm just saying, that's speaking from my experience. And most other brothers, y'all will have the same experience too. I'm not going to lie. Unless you one of these goofy cornballs, you swaggers ain't got no game and got nothing going on, okay? So now let's deal with the whole thing about, O'Shea was saying, well, hey, you can give somebody a mixed baby. See, this is something else that a lot of guys in that space tend to lean towards. Being able to give somebody a mixed baby is not a power component in the system of racism and white supremacy in America, okay? We're going to deal with America and Africa, okay? We're going to do both. Just because you can give somebody mixed kids, that's not going to increase your social standing. And if anything, you're about to have a bigger problem on your hands because now you have a biracial child and now you got to decide where you're going to live, okay? It's going to be a whole bunch of issues as far as like how that child is treated, particularly by folks in the dominant society, okay, primarily. And then you're gonna have to be looking at the situation. Well, okay, is this marriage going to last? Then if it doesn't last, and you on the receiving end of a family court situation, and the other spouse is a white person, you finna catch hell. You finna catch hell. All you got to do is look at it. Don't believe me? Just go and look. Now, let's deal with the situation for having mixed children over there on the continent. Unfortunately, again, not all, but a lot of them over there, that would be a form of social currency over there because of the way some of them tend to worship whiteness with the skin bleach and so on and so forth, not just in African nations, but in Caribbean nations too. We got to tell the truth, okay? That is a problem over there, all right? And some of them tend to think that, okay, if you have mixed babies or mixed child, that means it's going to help them. Here's the problem with that. And I'm not trying to punch down or disparage anybody, but see, this is why when we try to tell a lot of you brothers and sisters over there to pay attention to how we move over here, because we know what we're dealing with when you deal with these people, you better go back and look at history and study Tippu Tip, the East African slave trader. He had an African mother and an Arab father. A lot of times, if that child, that biracial child, okay, we're talking between a continental African and a white person, if they're not raised primarily around their African culture, they're going to grow up with white supremacist viewpoints if they're left primarily under the parentage of the white parent. That's usually the way that goes. We see this over here in America all the time. This is why we try to warn them about that. But see, when you're thinking that these people are so much better than you and getting a mixed baby is so important, okay, you're going to open yourself up for a whole bunch of problems, okay? And we already see what they tend to do to biracial children. You know, when they don't get things that go their way. I don't even need to go into detail. All you got to do is look down the archives of my channel. I've covered many stories on that. So I'm not going to bring that up here tonight. But see, this is why we try to warn a lot of them. So I just want to take the time to deal with that particular point because, see, again, bringing it back to what O'Shea is saying, if you're talking about having a mixed baby over here, what the hell did that do for any black person in society? That doesn't put the individual person that's black in a better position, and it damn sure don't put their kids in a better position. If anything, when dealing with people in the dominant society, their guard goes up there like, okay, you can sneak these little nigga genes over here. You see what I'm saying? See, sometimes these people have a lot to learn. They don't even realize how far behind they are when they're disconnected from the black grassroots of their people. But hey, let's let it continue.
That, O'Shea, is when I'm in Africa with you and it comes to paying that bill for that night, and my pocket, I pull out nothing but lint, and you pull out them $100 bills. They're going to go into your hotel room, not mine.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, just just by what the outside looking at, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this: you know, it's already been embedded in the minds of people, even in the black race. Even in our race, we are more catering towards the lighter people. Like even your children will have it much easier in the black community than anybody. Why?
I have to disagree with you on that.
I mean, to a certain degree, I know what you're talking about because when they get older, they're gonna have. We'll talk about that though. They will have a certain privilege with a certain group of blacks. That's almost definite. But what I will say is this: when it comes to white people, though, because their culture has not been necessarily destroyed or decimated, they have the ability. Like for a white person, it's easier for a white person to come up in America from, like, let's say, the lower class and all the way to the upper class, and are back in that same stratification, and it's acceptable for white people. In the case of blacks, almost the more that you achieve academically, the worse it is for you. You see what I'm saying? A white person can typically be, you have the freedom to be white, if that makes any sense, you know. And it's so many different things, you know. Other groups, like I said, other groups have the way that you can see white privilege is not necessarily through jobs or stuff like that, but it could be, man. A lot of people that are not white are gonna, you know, more likely want to deal with you because you are white. That happens. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, that you don't have your dismays or anything like that, but there are many different aspects of white advantage that you can't document. That's like, let's say, on paper or something like that.
Well, I'm only giving my perspective, okay? And like I said, I'm not your typical white guy.
Tommy Sotomayor is in the building. Shout out to Tommy Sotomayor.
Tommy, what's
Tommy's
up,
in
man?
here, man.
Wow, that's crazy. Tommy's
Shout out
in
to
here.
Tommy, the greatest.
Now, again, this was 6 years ago. You know you done fucked up when you got a white person getting giddy. Ha ha, Tommy showed my yours in the building. Oh, what's up, Tommy? Oh, Tommy. Oh. Yeah, you know you fucked up then. When you got one of them that's sitting up there praising any black person that disparages our own people. Come on, man. See, everybody knows that O'Shea and Tommy have had their falling out over the years here, because this was 6 years ago. But at the time, they this is when they were cool, and everybody was kind of looking up to Tommy because, see, to be honest with you, a lot of the Black Manosphere guys, they tried to pattern themselves after Tommy Sotomayor. You will have to be familiar with how the entirety of the idea of the Black Manosphere started. You have to go back to the Sergeant Willie Pete days, which would be considered Black Manosphere 1.0. Then fast forward to 2.0, which would be O'Shea, Angry Man, Mumia, Obsidian, Ali, so on and so forth. And then what Tommy's issue was with a lot of them, similar to Jason Black, they would steal his talking points, but not give him credit. That's what his beef was. And like I said, Tommy is the biggest coon you're going to ever find. But he did have some points with that, because the dearly departed Kevin Samuels, Tommy Sotomayor was one of the people that he borrowed things from as well. And he has proof of that. You go and ask Tommy. One thing about it, he's a coon, but I'll give it to him. He's an honest coon. He'll show you the emails and stuff where Kevin was all over in his chat room and stuff. I remember all of this stuff, man. One of these days, I'm going to have to do that broadcast to break down the accurate history of the Black Manosphere, because a lot of people know bits and pieces of it, but they don't know the whole story. But yeah, you know you're in trouble when the white guys over there shouting out Tommy. But hey, let's let them get back to it.
Black YouTuber of all time.
I agree with that.
Hey, I'm trying to be number 2 though, so I'm trying coming from the number 2 spot. I can never be number 1. But shout out to Tommy, man. Love your channel, bro.
Wow, this must be trending. All right, yeah, but anyways, back to what you were saying though. I think a lot of that has, listen, some black folks that I know that are very successful,
okay, they have
told me personally, like, I catch more shit and more hell ain't from white folks. It's from black people. Okay. Listen, black people have this thing called stems from Jim Crow, okay? But it's 2018, okay? We don't live in Jim Crow, okay? So why is black folks implementing Jim Crow to themselves in 2018 is beyond me, okay? So I know when you're saying that I have the freedom to be white, okay? You have the freedom to be black. You have the freedom to be O'Shea Duke Jackson, okay? You don't owe black people or the black community anything, okay? You owe yourself. That's all you owe is yourself, okay? And I see a lot of black folks feel this pressure that they have to be black or they're a sellout. Listen, a lot of black people that I know, that I've seen, you know, I've met Herman Cain before, they will tell you.
We all saw how that worked out for Herman Cain too, didn't we? You know, yeah. No disrespect to him, but you saw what he did, and his cooning took him up out of here too. See, when you start hearing people like this John Paul clown start trying to blow smoke up people's asses like O'Shea, you don't owe the black community anything. First and foremost, I would have checked him and I'd be like, first of all, you don't tell me what I owe my community, because it's not your place to speak on anything in my community. See, this is what these people, you have to draw the line at. Just because they land up with a black person, they think that now this gives me carte blanche to speak on your people's issues. No, it does not. It does not. See, I'm going to tell you something. There's content that I have yet to do on this channel that if I was to do that, I would give him something else to worry about. I'd be like, okay, now don't make me start focusing on your community, because there's a lot to focus on. From the rampant pedophilia over there, let's talk about why white men have the highest numbers of that. Yeah, see, you got a lot more to be worried about than looking at my people. Let's talk about these single white mothers raising these school shooters. Again, I got to bring that up, all right? Let's talk about how every time something happens in your community where it's a clear choice that you should make between right and wrong, you make the wrong choice, and then it ends up costing people in your community, like Kyle Rittenhouse. Oh, yeah. See, I'm telling you, family. Boy, there's a reason they don't try to debate me. First of all, they can't afford it. But if they did, be able to pony up the money to me, I would slaughter their asses with nothing but the truth. And I wouldn't even use no name calling. I wouldn't have to call them no kind of name. We would stick straight to the truth with the facts. And I guarantee you, all that straw man and red hair and shit, that don't work with me. Oh, no, you will have the right one. But hey, you know what? Let's get back to it.
They wrote in books about it. The hate and the hell that they get are not from white people. Okay.
Yeah, it's true.
One of my best friends, his name is Desmond. Okay. He said that he really started to dumb himself down. He grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, because they made fun of him and picked on him because they said he act white. White people ain't doing that. All right, that colorism shit is from black people. My own kids, my son is 16. When he was in 3rd grade, he got picked on. It wasn't white kids picking on him. It was black kids picking on him because he had a white father. Okay.
Do you hear this bold-faced lie that he just told? Family, see, this is the part right here where O'Shea grew up in Del Paso Heights to hear him tell it, okay? And I believe he did. If you grew up in Del Paso Heights, how you gonna let this dude get away with this? You know damn well he trying to frame it as only the black kids were picking on him. So you trying to say all the white kids were, hey, this is a little biracial kid. He's got a white dad and a black mom. He didn't get no nigga jokes told about his mama or nothing, huh? Oh, the white kids don't do that, do they? Boy, see, this right here, man. This don't make a bit of sense in the world right here. See, they lie so much to the point, again, when you say it out loud and think about it, you be like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. Right now, today in 2023, little white kids give biracial children hell. They don't accept them like that. You know why? Because they've been taught not to accept them like that in their households. Oh, see, boy, he better be glad I wasn't there to talk to him back then. Let's let it continue.
It goes back to the self-accountability. It goes back to the home. It comes back to the self-accountability. We can blame everybody at the time. We need to look in the mirror and say, the fucking problem is me as an individual. This is the reason why I'm in the position that I'm in, okay? Mm-hmm. And listen, I feel bad for any black person that has to walk around and feel like they have the whole black race on their shoulders. When the Black Panther movie came out, I mean, Michael B. Jordan caught a lot of hell for dating a Hispanic woman, I think. Mm-hmm. And I saw Steve the Dean, shout out to Steve the Dean. He had a picture of the guy who played Black Panther with a white girl. And black people were just going insane. And they were all mad. Fuck them. Who does he owe anything to? If he wanted to date a white midget, that's his fucking business, okay? So to me, that just blows my mind, because there's no way in hell, even if I woke up tomorrow and I was black, that I would ever put a whole race of people on my shoulders. No, I'm living my life for me. And I think a lot of black folks that are successful are doing that because they don't give a rat's ass what the black community thinks of them, all right? They let their actions speak, okay? They're not out Shark Tank and just feeding you what you want, that victimhood. They're actually out there. Herman Cain actually owns businesses. He's actually employing people. He's putting the muscle to the hustle, and that's just where I'm at with that.
Okay, here's the thing. Let's talk about that, because you brought some good points up here. Eastwood, thank you, man. $20 super chat. Again, shout out to Tommy. You were just in here. The more educated you come, and Pauline, the NBA, the more educated you become as a person, black person, the greater your challenges become. The racial tensions are stronger from Caucasians. Unfortunately, we don't have the freedom to be black. We just don't. Let me just say.
Now, before we let this foolishness continue, notice how John Paul keeps trying to praise the black people that, oh, you don't owe the black community anything, family. We all see that those black people that are successful that do that, we see those are the ones that don't do anything for black people. So now, to go to show you how deceptive and devious white supremacy is, right in front of O'Shea's face, he didn't realize that this guy's upholding the Sambo class in black society that is in the upper elite that doesn't do anything to help the communities that often support them in getting to where they are today. The people that make their products hot, okay? The people that keep them relevant so that they will be viable to corporations so that they can get marketing deals and brand deals, so on and so forth. You see, a white supremacist is always going to uphold that which is a detriment to our people. You understand what I'm saying, family? But see, O'Shea, back then, 6 years ago, he didn't have the wherewithal to recognize that and check John Paul on that. One or two black people doing well does not trickle down to the rest of black society. Understand that when Barack Obama, little biracial, tether ass was in office, that didn't help us out at all. Kamala Harris, okay, that's not helping us out at all. All right. When you pick any black person that's highly successful, if they don't come back and do things in the community, that don't help us out at all. Okay. When you start looking at the Jay-Z's, et cetera, when they get this or that deal, let me put it to you this way. I'm not saying that those people did not work hard to get where they are. I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is notice how they skip over trying to help their own people most of the time. And see, here's the other thing you got to remember. I'm going to say it like this so that this point really sticks. You cannot live your life vicariously through nobody. Okay, so yeah, I want to see my people do well. But at the same time, if you got to get yours together, you cheering for Jay-Z, Oprah, whoever you want to name, that don't do shit for you. If they're not giving you any opportunities or giving you some games so you can make opportunities for yourself, how does that help you? But see, you'll always have white people like him that'll point out, well, see, so-and-so is a billionaire, this, that. Okay, well, what about all the other millions of black people that are not ever going to get anywhere close to that under the current circumstances in America? See, this is how you have to hit them people in the face when you're talking to them. But hey, let's let it continue.
And I think you kind of argued it, maybe gets your point a little bit when you talked about how black people have to go through these things. And that is, let me talk about that. That's actually anti-black privilege. But let me talk about this real quick. There was the slave revolution from 1792 to 1804 in Haiti. Have you heard about that before?
The slave revolution? No.
Okay. Haiti is the only country in the world that decided the black slaves revolt against the whites and win. So they did that. They got their own autonomy. This revolution went across all the slave world. That means blacks in Colombia were hearing about it, blacks in Dominican Republic, blacks in America were hearing about it. And so white people were scared to have these slaves. Bushward Washington was very afraid. James Monroe, they started the American Colonization Society Act. And what did they started to do? Was let us send the most talented blacks and let's start breaking them up. Those blacks who are the smartest, are more intelligent, they are more likely to lead a revolution. This is what you hear about, we didn't want blacks learning how to read, stuff that that's true. Now, I'm making this a point. Now, although what we started to see was some of the greatest and smartest blacks, some were being shipped to Liberia. And then in the internal camps, that what whites were doing, where they were separating the intelligent from the non-intelligent, and then making a great disdain between the two groups. So this is why you see now that those people who are black, who want to become intelligent, who want to become, greater or achieve more, that disdain, that breakup kind of thing, that was the protection that whites had to make sure that blacks didn't revolt. And so what you're talking about is something that whites have instilled in blacks from a long time ago. Now, I know, blacks are accountable, but what white people, they value their best people. Like, look at the Negro Manosphere, for example. Even this little small community that we have. The reason why it runs like it does, and I don't get like a ton of money for it, but you have very smart people that are operating it and making sure people get paid and putting out the content and putting out, so it runs good. You have to have some sort of intelligence to do this, right? The issue that blacks have is that the poor blacks or the unintelligent blacks don't want to listen to the more highly intelligent blacks, right? You have to, basically in Black America, you have to be stupid to be accepted.
Oh, no. I can't let him get away with that one. No. This is something a lot of them tend to do, especially when they start leaning conservative. It's not that you have to be stupid to be accepted, O'Shea. If you're intelligent and that's combined with cooning, you will not be accepted. The greater majority of black people are not coons. No. Of course, look, let's go ahead and go here. Let's go ahead and go and deal with the mascot that's still hanging on, okay? The mascot that the dominant society, white supremacists, love to use, and book dancing Sambos in black society love to hold up. Thomas Sowell. Okay? Let me tell you something right now. I don't give a damn how high your IQ is. I don't care how academically inclined or accomplished you are. When your ass start cooning, you are worthless to our people. That's what that is, O'Shea. That's what that is. A coon is worthless to our people. You can achieve high value man status and then be completely worthless to black society if you're a damn coon. What good is somebody that idolizes our oppressors and actively works against us with our oppressors? What value do they have to our society? Let's put common sense to that. You see what I'm saying? See, that's what a lot of them tend to think. People don't like me because I was smart. Listen, let me tell you something, man. I'm a very accomplished black man. Okay, multiple time college undergraduate. I got degrees upon degrees and certifications upon certifications. There's people that have met me offline that can verify everything that I tell you I have over here. Okay? I was not rejected in my community because I was an intelligent brother that did well for himself, because I wasn't no damn coon. Some of these guys, man, they don't tell the whole truth about that. And see, this is why you have to press them on that too. Be like, listen, tell the whole story. Were you a buck dancing sambo in high school and college or not? That's what you have to ask the question, okay? So I just had to stop him on that. But hey, wait till you hear what John Paul's about to say. Here it comes.
White culture and the privilege that whites have or Asians have is they can depend on their best and brightest people. And so when you look at that, the blacks are the only people who are affected by that, because historically that's what whites want. That's what I think they still want. I think it's evident. And so when you talk about white privilege to that example, or to any other racial group that's doing better, you look at the Jews. You know, their best people are telling the other people what they need to do. Every society works like that, but not black society. So again, here we are back to a problem that white people created. I mean, you know, again, there's no matter what you can argue, you're gonna get back to the problem that you have created. And white people never thought that it will come back and bite their great grandsons and granddaughters in the ass, but it has. And that's the thing. White people who feel like yourself, I'm not saying you're wrong, but just like they've been telling us, hey, it comes to a point where it is what it is. And what are you gonna do about it? I mean, people are gonna suffer. Right now, white America, your age group, you're tired of this shit. But bro, unfortunately, you're paying for what people have done before you. That's just what it is. And I know that you might not like to hear that, but you are the fruits of that, whether you want to hear that or not. And that's how it's going to have to be. You know, just like my community's fucked up. These are the policies that nobody ever saw coming. Nobody. White people 100 years ago would never think. You think the white people 100 years ago would think it would be like this right now? They would never guess in a million years. But we now know that in a society, what are the consequences of how to treat people?
I gotta stop him again, because see, he probably thought at the time what he was saying made a lot of sense. O'Shea, they did see this happening today, and I'm gonna tell you why. Let's use common sense again. When you go back and look at the Constitution as it was written, it was not written with black people in mind. In 1776, when they were celebrating their freedom, our black asses were still enslaved on them damn plantations. No. Today, the reason why you're saying that John Paul is paying for what his ancestors did is because they passed that down to him to uphold the system of racism and white supremacy in America. You can clearly see, those of us with sense that's over here, we can clearly tell what John Paul is. I don't see how he wasn't able to tell as long as this interview went on. Okay? That's the amazing thing about it. And I'm using this as a teaching tool tonight, not to beat up on him, but to show you what happens if you ignore teaching black children about racism and white supremacy. They become an O'Shea Duke Jackson, where they can be sitting right in front of one, having a long drawn out discussion with one about some shit that, you know, that is first of all, the whole conversation is really in bad faith. And then they don't have the information available to actively counter them and shut that shit down. This is why we must take it upon ourselves to make sure that the next generation understands what they're dealing with, especially now that they're trying to take all the truth out of school, okay? You better make sure that as that truth goes out that school, it comes into your home. You've got plenty of avenues to educate your children over here. I don't care whether you start with the Hidden Color series. I don't care whether you start with the documentary work of our brother Jason Black. I don't care whether you go back and look way back in the archives and pull out our grandmaster teachers, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. John Henry Clark, okay? Even our non-LBA grandmaster teachers, Joseph Ben Yakinen, okay? CLR James, all right? You better make sure that this information and this knowledge is in your homes. Today, since we're in the digital age, start looking for the audio book formats of it, okay? Make sure that your children get the truth, because it's a shame that they get to be this old and they don't understand when they're dealing with an anti-black racist and a white supremacist. Let it continue.
And I think conversations like this, where we can actually listen to your side of the story, you make a lot of good points. But
no, he doesn't make a lot of good points. No, he hasn't.
I think white people got to pull somebody bootstraps, and blacks got to do that too.
No, listen, you made a very valid point, and I think it really ties into everything that we have been talking for the last hour, is that you're absolutely right. There's a pivot point where this all started, all right? We see the ending, okay? We're seeing the results today, but there was a beginning, okay? And you might not agree with me what I'm about to say, but the reality of it is it's 2018. Okay, and the black community is their own people, okay? Just like you said, the Jewish community and the Asian community, okay? And there is a blueprint of doing it on your own as a people. Now, listen, we could talk about how it got started. We could talk about the beginnings of this and how this avalanche became. But the reality of it is if black folks ain't listening to the Ben Carsons, to the O'Shea. Listen, I love your platform and what you're doing. I respect the hell out of it, okay?
I know.
But
Thank you, man.
The reality of it is you and Steve the Dean and Donovan and LAR Movement and ABL, all of you catch hell, and it ain't from white people. It's from black people. And the reason for that, and we could trace that all the way back to what you said. But at some point, okay, if I was black, if I was O'Shea D. Jackson, I would say, listen here, motherfucker, okay? I'm trying to tell you and give you the game and tell you, listen, you can make it. There's a way, there's a blueprint. But if you want to keep acting like a victim, if you want to keep acting like a jackass and always want to blame the past, you're never going to live in the present, and you're never.
The past affects the present and the future if you do not learn from it. See, family, notice how when white supremacists like this John Paul clown, when they start talking about black people that they think we should look up to, they talk about the coons. How many times have you heard someone like him reference any of the grandmaster teachers that I referenced earlier? How many of them point to Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, not just cherry pick parts of Martin Luther King? How many of them, instead of quoting the I Have a Dream speech, how many of them look at the portion right before our honorable brother and ancestor Martin Luther King was assassinated? How many of them point out that he was trying to get reparations for black people? The part where he was saying we're coming to get our check. See, notice, and see, this is what you do too, and watch the look on their faces if you ever have to confront one of them when they start rattling off all the list of the coons that they want you to look up to, so that you should hold these up as your icons and heroes. Notice that they don't ever hold up their worst as icons and heroes to their people, okay? And in their turn, their worst will be people like John Brown. Notice they don't talk about John Brown with any measure of respect. They try to make him sound like he was crazy. But see, I always ask them about any one of our grandmaster teachers, like, hey, why don't you ever quote the words of Dr. Francis Cress Wilson? You know, why don't you ever quote the words of Dr. John Henry Clark? Why don't you ever quote the words of Chancellor Williams? See, chances are they won't even know who the hell these people are. All they know is, okay, these are the hand-chosen coons. Because see, let's be clear on something before we get back to this. When it comes to them trying to tell us who we should look up to, they're only going to give you the ones that their people approve of. Oh, that's the good little Negro right there. He's programmed. He carries all the talking points. You should be more like Candace Owens and Larry Elder. Yeah. See, you give them the flip side of that and just watch their faces when they respond. And see, I'm surprised O'Shea didn't push back and hit him with any of them names. But then again, you have to be well versed and studied on these things in order to be able to give the proper pushback. Let's let it continue.
We're going to have a future. You're going to have to cut ties. You're going to have to cut ties. There's no reason in the world that Lil Wayne, okay, or Cardi B, she's not even black, but Lil Wayne, okay, should be more popular and more accepted in the black community than Ben Carson, okay? Now, the Asians ain't doing that shit. You say white America ain't doing that. The Jews.
While he's carrying on about Ben Carson, O'Shea should have said, okay, I've got someone that they should look up to, Dr. Claude Anderson. How about you bring that up? Oh boy, like I said, hindsight is 20/20, but had I been present for this, he would have hated me. I would have brought that white supremacist right on out of his little ass. I really would have, but hey, let's let it continue.
Ain't doing that. When it's their own, okay? And so I think that black folks, they need to cut off the ignorant ones that are just not going to get it, okay? And that's, and listen, some people might say, man, that sounds pretty racist. Well, fuck them. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, man. You have, at some point, self-accountability has to be the flag that you're moving forward with, okay? And so it's very easy to say, this is the reason, John, why we're at the position that we are in. And I don't disagree with you at all about how we got to where we're at today. But in 2018, there's no reason on this God green earth that you cannot make it in not just America, but in life, okay? And that your skin tone has zero to do with that.
That is pretty much true to that. I'm not gonna argue. I'll read the super chat out in a minute, guys. Let me do me a favor. We have 189 people watching right now.
How is that pretty much true when you can actively point to areas in society where black people are actively sabotaged when they're doing all the right things? How in the hell would you be able to agree with that 6 years ago or right here today? How would you be able to just sit up here and agree with an anti-black racist and a white? It's not funny, but it's sad. That's why I'm laughing, family. It's sad that he didn't have sense enough to realize, like, no, the hell that's not true. He should have been able to rattle off chapter and verse how, no, this is not true in America, that you should always just be able to succeed just because you're here. No. See, it would be different if we didn't have any cases of any type of active discrimination. Right when you look right on this community tab, I put the article up that, and Black Voltron knows, I sent this article to him showing how the Citibank did a study showing that over $16 trillion was lost in the financial sector due to anti-black racism. So you got to have, since they like data, statistics, and facts, start pulling out the ones by their people that show, hey, look, yes, racism is still alive and well today. You see what I'm saying? See, man, look, if you're going to go up against a white supremacist and you're going to engage them on a public forum, you need to know what the hell you're talking about, because if not, you pretty much not only do you embarrass yourself, you embarrass our people, okay? Sometimes the people that are not qualified should recognize when they're not, and they should have somebody on there that is qualified to speak. That's the way you do that. You send the person that's most skillful at the particular task at hand to represent your people, okay? You don't try to engage if you're not well studied. He should have took his time and got his facts together, because like I said, bright dude, but you haven't been studying the right things. It's clear. You may be able to tell everybody everything about anything in the medical field, but you damn sure don't really know your history like that, because if he did, he would have been able to push back against the dude and make him look like a jackass. But hey, let's let him continue.
Do me a favor and get the likes up, guys. There will be no derogatory comments in the chat. If you can't say anything, we're having a pretty good conversation right here. So, like I said, let's not the bullshit ass words or whatever. Okay, we're not gonna do that.
They can say what they want because they're hypersensitive, they're triggered, and they're butthurt, and they need to go listen to Ralph Trav sensitivity all day on repeat. Fuck you.
This is what I want to do. So, guys, I'm going to keep the super chats. I'm going to read them here in a minute. Get the likes. So we have 191 people watching right now. 64. Yeah, so get the likes up, guys. Okay. Get the likes up here. Here's what I want to say. You are very right. in terms of people like, okay, like when we say people like Ben Carson, right now, again, I know that you're not black, and there are certain conversations. Now I know that you have a black wife, but there are certain conversations I think that a lot of people that, because when they're white, you know what I mean, they don't understand the insensitivity of certain things. I've said some insensitive things towards blacks I will never say again, even if I feel a certain way. Like I made certain cases about certain police brutality things and stuff like that. I feel that I can use my platform in a better way than, let's say, being derogatory towards blacks in certain ways. What am I?
Oh, yes, he's telling the truth about that. Oh, he was cooning it up back in the day. Yes, he was. But what he did with a lot of those streams, for those of you that don't understand how he operated his platform, he would go and make the most coonish, buffoonish statements ever and pull the damn stream down. And then if you ask him about it, I never said that. Yeah, some of us do have all them coonish streams that you did, brother. Don't ever try to act like you didn't say certain things, because the one thing I will never do on you on this platform or any that I have is tell no lies on you. I will pull that shit out and play your own words each and every time. See, and not just him, a lot of manosphere do that. They'll say some shit, then they'll pull it down and try to act like they never said it. No. Stand on what you say and just say, hey, you know what? That's a different time. I progressed in my knowledge since then. I don't think that way anymore. But if you call yourself trying to act like you didn't say it, I will pull out a blast from the past on your ass. Oh, yes, I will. And see, to sit up here in front of this damn white supremacist and not really take him to task the way he should, it goes to show you, man, that some of our people, man, just because you have a degree doesn't make you intelligent. It really doesn't, okay? It makes you well-studied in your particular given field, and it's physical proof that you graduated from it. But as far as being intelligent in a whole sense, as far as knowing your people and how to engage these damn anti-black racists and white supremacists, you are sorely lacking. You are negligent on that. And it could put your life in danger depending on what kind of situation you're in, okay? It's a bigger deal than just a disagreement and a conversation, okay? Because see, this bastard, John Paul, that he's sitting up here having this conversation with, what do you think would happen if he was a teacher or somewhere and he had to deal with little black children? How do you think he would talk to them? You understand? See, let's go here with it too. Because he's married to a black woman and he thinks now that gives him carte blanche to stick his nose over here in black affairs. Imagine if it was the other way around, okay? And the black spouse started interjecting into white affairs. They would look at you like, have you lost your damn mind, Negro? They don't play that shit. You see what I'm saying? See, this is where the men that are on code over here have to draw the line and say, close the gate. This bullshit does not float. Every time I see one of his kind try to step in our issues, I'm there to check that ass. Oh no, if I'm in, I don't care if it's a Twitter space, online web, if I'm there, I'm gonna shut that shit down. I'm going to rattle off the whole list of stuff you need to worry about. Them declining birth numbers. You really better be worried about getting your population numbers up. You ain't got time to be worried about black folks, okay? I would piss them off from one end to the other, and I wouldn't have to call them no names. I'd be like, look, you need to worry about this, and this, okay? Yeah, see, y'all got to learn how to stop this shit at the gate, man, but let's let it continue.
Saying here, I think when we mentioned about people like Ben Carson, the fact that he told people, let's say, for example, you're immigrants. You slaves were immigrants. I mean, it's things like this, right? When we hear about white conservatives, when they talk about what blacks should be in control of your communities, and when you have blacks who are insensitive and say things to the need of their communities, black people are going to be very insensitive to certain things. I think that if black people are going to be more on getting your shit together, you know, obviously, black people. And those people, let's say white conservatives, or those people who are concerned with the black vote. And I honestly believe that the best thing for black men to do, I don't really talk about black women on this channel as far as voting or anything. I don't care. Black men would be best voting Republican for their needs. But the problem is this.
How would black men be best voting Republican if we're not getting anything tangible in exchange for our vote? O'Shea, Duke Jackson, or anybody else? Same thing if somebody would say black men or black women would be best voting Democrat. Okay, in exchange for what? Voting is a business transaction. You do not give up your vote for free, just like you don't work for free. If you don't work for free, you don't vote for free. You get something in exchange for your vote. You see what I'm saying, family? But see, this is what happens when you disconnect from your people. Let's let it continue.
The blacks that are out there, are they really sensitive to the, because there are certain aspects of being coons. There are certain talking points that white people have. Like you're a slave immigrant. I mean, it's things like this that are going to offend the black populace. You understand what I'm saying?
Here's my thing, and it goes back to, and I'm going to answer your question.
Sure.
You can't be the victim and you can't be the bully at the same time. You can't be aggressive and you can't be hypersensitive, okay? You can't sit up there and when Ben Carson, someone who came from the bottom, who made something out, who really embodied the American dream, who made it, okay? And he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder, and he says some harsh things. I don't agree with everything he says, but if he says something harsh, who fucking cares? Okay, but Snoop Dogg can say bitch and the N-word and talk about gang banging and glorify drugs for 25 years, and that's okay. That doesn't offend black people. Mm-hmm. But Ben Carson saying, hey, you know what? He makes a comment and says, hey, and black folks get sensitive on that. They get triggered by that. Listen, my motto is it's facts over your motherfucking feelings.
You're absolutely right, John Paul. It is facts over feeling. And see, when black people that are informed on exactly what our people's issues are from past to present are hitting you with them facts, you get in your feelings. You do. See, you know which coons to go and talk to. You won't have conversations with brothers like myself, Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, Philip Scott, Torian Rain, okay? And there are some sisters that I could name, okay? Look, can you imagine this jackass trying to have a conversation with the esteemed grandmaster teacher and living elder, Shahrazad Ali? Can you imagine this buffoon trying to talk to anybody from our camp, okay? Can you imagine that, Dr. Claude Anderson? Oh, my God. It wouldn't even be fair. It would be... Remember those boxing matches back in the day where one opponent would be getting their ass whooped so bad they had to throw in the towel and stop the fight? It wouldn't even be fair, man. A lot of y'all black, don't just let it go. Don't keep hitting them like that. You see what I'm saying? See, when you sit up here in front of a black person that's talking about a damn black card, they don't have a system to check him properly. This is crazy, man. But hey, let's get back to it.
Okay, and it might come off insensitive. Listen, I'm not here to pander, okay? If they want someone to pander to them, go get Gary Owens, okay? I'm not the right guy. So my thing is this. The reality of it is this, O'Shea, is that when you talk about the Asians have leaders, they're their best, okay? I'm going to use you for a prime example, the Negro Manosphere. Mm-hmm. You guys are educated, you guys are leaders, and everyone collectively is doing this to uplift the community, okay? To really show them that, hey, you guys have been blinded. Let's unplug you from the matrix of some sort and show you there's a way, there's a blueprint and path, okay? Sometimes kissing their ass and walking on eggshells and trying to massage a fragile ego is not going to get the job done. I watch your videos, O'Shea. You tell these motherfuckers straight up what it is, okay? And maybe they get butthurt and they unsubscribe. That's on them, okay? But there's a lot of folks that want to say, you know what? That tough love is real. Because even though his tone might be off, what he's saying is actual factual facts. Mm-hmm. And to me, if I was black, I would be more offended from the Democratic Party, from the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons that have been pandering for 30 years and the black community has not progressed. I would be more offended by these motherfuckers than ever what anything Ben Carson has ever said. And
we call them out, and we also call out the right-wing white supremacist conservatives. We can chew gum and walk at the same time over in New Black Media, John Paul. It's not just one side. See, they keep trying to run that game. Both sides do it, too. Oh, it's the Republicans. Oh, it's the Democrats. No, it's both of you motherfuckers. That's who it is.
He's shown a blueprint of how to get it done.
Okay. And here's the thing, right? And it will just be like this. I know that you're going to say, when white people look at, you're going to have Snoop Dogg, but not this. Here's what I will say. Black people have to be able to speak up for, you know, I know what makes sense, may make sense, but you know, black people have to be talked to a certain way in certain aspects. I think what we as black people, though, instead of talking a lot, you know, we need to be able to start helping each other out. This is what I tell black men all the time. You know, if you really want to start seeing your communities get better, because I'm not really concerned about, like, I hate to say this, but the black female community, it's not on my wish list. I don't have anything to do with that, nor do I want anything. I deal with just black men. I tell black men.
All right, see, that's where you fucked up right there again. Back then, 6 years ago, O'Shea. Okay, hopefully your mindset has changed today. Over here, we deal with black first across the board. You are not fit to be a leader or any type of teacher in the community if you're only looking at the betterment of one half of the community. We exist as a whole, okay? We call out what's wrong as far as the men and the women, but as far as us making progress together, we do that as a whole. It's not one side or the other. See, that's the problem in that Black Manosphere space. They think, okay, well, it's just the black men. No. You know, that's not going to work. It never has worked. We are a whole community. So wherever you go, you still gonna be black wherever you go. For them talking about they gotta get out the community and all them types of pejorative terms they have for black society. Wherever you take your black ass, that skin is gonna still be wrapped on you, and you still gonna be seen as black. I don't care how much money you get, how much education, you're not gonna escape who you are. So many of these coons have to learn it the hard way, right? So here's the thing. When it comes to naming out all these people like John Paul was, notice they never point to any of our historical figures or present day figures, okay, that are doing well in black society that aren't buck dancing and cooning, all right? And see, O'Shea should have pointed this out to him because he knows who our most successful and brightest are. That's not buck dancing Sambos. Or then again, maybe 6 years ago he didn't, all right? Maybe he didn't. But see, to make that statement, talking about you only concerned with black men, you don't really deal with black women. Okay, well then, here's the thing. That's your right to do that, but then don't complain when you're not respected by sisters who you say you didn't give a damn about, okay? If you gonna claim that, you know, black women are not your responsibility, you're not worried about them, you then in conjunction, in fairness, you shouldn't worry about getting respect from them either. That goes hand in hand. I think that's a reasonable request, all right? Vice versa. Same thing I would tell a woman. If you're going to say, I'm only concerned about black women and I only deal with black women, okay, well, then you don't have the right to expect a black man to provide or protect for you either. That goes both ways. We only deal with people that are concerned about the whole over here. See, what we do is far different from these buck dancing platforms and where these people sit up here and let white supremacists sit up in front of them and not check them on their bullshit. That's exactly what the whole Just Pearly things was about, okay? Man, like I said, let's let it continue.
And as a group, you need to help your other people out. You want to get your message across. Let people see through your works. Let people see through you helping out another brother. Let you see people supporting your own black male businesses. This is what I want black men to do, as any other group can do. And you speak with your money. You speak with your vote.
Understand this. We also speak by having the same agenda. There's nothing I can do with a coon, okay? If you're a buck dancing Sambo, we could have all these other components in place that you name, but if we don't have the same agenda, if I'm trying to empower my people, okay, and make sure that we have everything we need in place to produce justice and be self-sufficient, but if you over here leaning towards, well, we got to be on the one political party or the other and be kissing white folks' ass, shit, we going two different directions. I'm going north, you going south. This not going to work. Just let them continue.
Speak with your agendas, okay? I think what we have is people like Ben Carson who may talk from, as blacks may say, a coon's perspective. I've heard people say the same thing about, let's say, Tree of Logic or my buddy, you know, Anthony Brian Logan or Brandon Tatum.
Did you hear those names? Anthony Brian Logan and Brandon Tatum. See, these are his good buddies. If you're not familiar with who they are, let me tell you something. I know y'all know who Brandon Tatum is. Go look up Anthony Brian Logan, or ABL as he's known. You hadn't seen Coon until you go over there on that platform. I promise you hadn't.
Because you know I've had all of those except for Triologic on my shows.
Great men.
Black people, black men in particular, we have to start providing opportunity. This is our fault. We got to start providing opportunities for our people. so that people can speak in our own language, so people can say our own things. See, I can't fault a guy, let's say like Brandon Tatum, or a guy like ABL, for people say like, oh, they're always defending white people, whatever they're saying. But we don't ever open up opportunity for can we financially support ABL? I mean, white people, when they want a black person to speak for them, hey man, they can offer them something. What's this?
Why the fuck would I support any buck dancing Sam Bozo or Sam Bett that will justify the murder of George Floyd or Breonna Taylor? I'm not putting my money behind somebody that does that. I don't support coons, and I damn sure don't support white supremacists. No. See, opportunity and supporting ain't got shit to do with where those people's mindsets are. That's what determines if you a coon or not. Show me anywhere in the Jewish community that they financially support somebody that denies the Holocaust. You go show me somewhere over in Asian society where somebody starts speaking against what their people should have and then they financially support them. You hear how insane that bullshit sounds? It's madness, man. Sometimes these people don't even hear what came out of their mouth in the past or what comes out of it in present day. I told y'all, man, we had a lot to learn from this. Let them get back to it.
What's this fat preacher out of South Carolina I'm talking about? What's this guy's name? John Paul.
I never heard of him.
The guy, you know what I'm talking about. It's this guy, he's married to this fat ass white wife. Reverend Mark Burns. You know, when they get these black people that speak on, the token black, because that's what Ben Carson is. He's a token black person that's speaking really what whites want him to say. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is that, well,
why the hell don't you have a problem with that? Or didn't you have a problem with that, to speak in current day terms? Why would you not have a problem with a black person like a Candace Owens, Ben Carson, whoever you want to name it, just saying what white folks want them to say? Do you see, for a person to make that kind of statement, that lets me know you don't understand your role in the warrior class of foundational Black American society. As a man, that is a threat. You can't come around my people talking about, oh, I'm just going to say whatever the white people want me to say. So that means when you call yourself trying to represent your people, foundational Black Americans, whether it's a Ben Carson or a Candace Owens, who's not foundational Black American, then you start undermining our people. No, that is a problem. But see, you have to be a competent black man to recognize what that problem is. He clearly did not back then. Let's let him continue.
Black men and black people have to do, we have to give incentive for people to want to speak for us. We have to give incentive for people to want to come to our platforms. We have to create the things that get people to want to do stuff like that. We have to do that. And that's our fault. And I tell black men all the time, you got to make that $500 billion spending power work for you. And we don't do that. We do as blacks feel like, hey, you should just give us this or whatever. That's not politics works. And I think that black people, we need to start, black men really need to start playing the political game. We need to start, supporting people like Ben Carson, putting money in their pockets so that they can say what we need to say. And we're not doing that. So until black men or black people in general start to fund their political agendas, and that's our fault. I mean, that's something that
This is the problem with what he just said. Ben Carson was not chosen by Black grassroots society for us to fund him. Right now, today, if you started funding someone like a Ben Carson, he's not going to change his message because he made that choice long before money came into picture. See, that's the part that a lot of those conservatives don't understand. Even if you put the money behind one of them Sambos, you think they're going to start representing our agenda? No, we support the politicians that we choose, like a Greg Marcel Dixon, okay? That's pushing the line on our agenda. Then we can talk about funding. You don't just throw money at somebody and, oh, well, we paying them, so now they're going to speak for us. That's not how that works. But see, you can't tell people like this anything. They think they got it all figured out. It's sad, man.
We should be doing it. We're not doing it.
No, I don't. I agree with everything you're saying, 100%. I don't agree with Dr. Umar Johnson for numerous reasons, but he made a very good point about Obama. Obama got 95% of the black vote and did absolutely nothing for the black community, and Obama was the biggest Trojan horse ever. And the only thing black folks ever asked him to do was to be black. And he lived up to that promise. So I guess he did that. But in a sense, you're right. It takes a political capital to do that, to make moves happen. And
what I need John Paul to point out is all the other conservative Republican president equivalent that hadn't done shit for black people either. Yes, we hold Barack Obama accountable for that. Oh, yes, we do. But you keep acting like there is some conservative counterpart that did what he didn't do. See, no, you don't let them run away from the facts. Like he said, facts over feelings. Yeah, let's deal with the facts.
Listen, I agree with you 100%. The Democratic way is not working. All right, not at all. You can look at the proof is in the pudding. And again, some of that has to fall into self-accountability. Black folks keep voting Maxine Waters in. Why? She has one of the poorest districts. Why is she still in office? Why is John Lewis still in office? Okay, yes, he did great things in the 60s, all right, but this is 2018 and his community is shit. All right. We need to do what have you done for me now, not what did you do 30 years ago for me. Okay. And this is where I think and I feel and you know, people get triggered by this, and I really don't give a fuck. You have the Democratic plantation, you have the white elites, these white liberals who I feel they are the racists. And they use the House Negroes to control black people, to keep them in a box.
Now, did you hear what he just used out of his mouth? He just said House Negroes on a black man's platform. You're not going to get checked about it. See, this is what happened when they get too comfortable. They get a black wife or you know, a black husband or whatever. They get too comfortable, and then they start thinking that they can talk crazy to our people. You see what I'm saying? No, white man. You. First of all, having a conversation with him about what we need to do. Nah, and like he said, I agree with the statement he made. Yeah, it's not about what you did 30 years ago, about what have you done for me lately. That applies to conservatives as well. See, these people don't talk to intelligent black people. They don't. They go pick people that's trying to gain white acceptance by trying to call themselves black conservatives, or they go and have conversations with people that they clearly know are not informed enough on the issues to give them any real intellectual pushback and present the facts where it boxes their asses in. Because see, I'm gonna tell you something right now. I don't care what issue they bring up. I can show them how it all goes back to something their people set in place. Sure, we have accountability to take as individuals for certain things, but on a collective systematic level, no. It all goes back to how these things were set in place by policies and current day upholding the system of racism and white supremacy to keep black people in an oppressed state. Oh my goodness, boy. See, y'all just don't understand, man. I would have shredded this dude, man. It wouldn't even took nowhere near this long. I'm just showing it for a teaching lesson here tonight. Let's let it continue.
They feel like they're victims. And until black people, all right, start listening to the O'Sheas, the Donovan Sharps, the Ben Carsons, the Steve the Deans, the ABLs, the Tommies, when they start get off their feelings and start to really look at the bigger picture and look past the forest, then they're going to realize, hey, we have to fix this within. We don't need the whitey, okay? We know how we got to this place, but it's 2018, and what happened 200 years ago isn't relevant for today. We need to fix our...
Bullshit. It is relevant to what happened today when everything is tied economically. See, this is the part that a white supremacist thinks that they can get over on every black person. Some of us are more intelligent than that. Again, follow the money. How you gonna tell me that what happened to affect the economic situation in the present doesn't matter because it was 200 years ago? It damn sure does matter. Watch this. Okay, if you're gonna tell me that, then right now, if a black person back then had taken something from a white person and they got it by ill-gotten gains, and just because 200 years have passed, you think these people would say, oh, well, that was 200 years ago. There's nothing we can do about that. You may as well let them have it. We know damn well that would not happen. And see, John Paul, this is the part that I really am disappointed in O'Shea for with this interview back then. He's over here talking to black people about what we need to do. John Paul, I need to see you over there talking to your community and addressing white supremacists about what they need to do. I don't need you talking to me. You don't have no moral authority to address no black person. Take your little bald head white ass over there and address your community. That's what you need to do. All these school shooters, your white women over there committing abortion left and right to the point where you had to try to go ahead and strike down Roe versus Wade. You need to worry about that. All your white single mothers that's raising these little the domestic terrorists that's running around trying to commit whole insurrections on the Capitol because you didn't like how an election turned out. I need you to go over there and address those issues. That's what I need you to start doing. They always want to run over here and talk to black people. No, it's a lot you need to go talk to your people about. You don't have no business on no black space or black platform talking to us about a damn thing. But see, when you got Book Dance and Sambo sit up here and they don't recognize what they're dealing with, they'll let them get that shit off. Let's let it continue.
Community. And by doing that, you're right, the politicians change. The only way you're going to change that, because right now the Democratic Party feels like they have black people as a voter stock. So they put black folks in colored people. They put them, they lump them in with colored people, and now they're focused on the illegal aliens, okay? And tell black folks, you know, they never put Obama's feet to the fire, ever. Did they ever put his feet to the fire? Now all of a sudden, all these woke black folks got something to say about politics, about Trump. The comedians, Chris Rock is out of retirement now. He's talking about Donald Trump. Rappers are making a career again talking about Donald Trump. It's funny, I didn't hear any of these motherfuckers when Obama was the president because they were too busy sucking his fucking cock. Okay, and the end result is those are not leaders that anybody needs to be following.
Okay, so I guess some people are, and I hate to say, because I say this about, what do you say, house Negroes. I mean, people, I guess maybe they're saying that it's a problem with that term.
Well, listen, if they got a problem with that term, then they better have a problem with calling me a white boy and a cracker. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't sit up there and want to be aggressively and say and talk shit about white folks all day long, 365 day, and then when you hear me say house Negro, all of a sudden you want to get on your fucking feelings. It doesn't work that way. That's just my stance.
I mean, I feel those Democrats are that is exactly what they are, man. I can't. I'm sorry. That's what they are, bro. I mean, I'm not trying to, you know.
That's what they are. That's what they are. Okay, well, that's what they are. But you know what else, O'Shea? That's an in-house conversation. There will never be a time where I have any white person on my platform addressing our people out of our name. That didn't belong in his mouth. Whether you agree, do you see how silly this is? This is 6 years ago, but do you see how silly this mindset is with a black conservative, as I call him? Okay, because you agree with him. That's beside the point. That, hey, these are black people you talking to. You don't use that language towards my people, whether I agree with you or not. That's an in-house issue. Flip it around. Do you think that his black ass could go over there in white spaces and talk to them and use disparaging terms to them, and white people like, well, that's exactly what they are. I agree with them. See, at some point, it goes back to how you were raised too. Like I said, I was raised here in the South. We were raised with a certain family pride, okay, and integrity. We know it is certain conversations, like I said, that's in-house issues. You're not going to sit around the white people, well, I agree with them. This was a bad look, man. This was a bad look. It really was. And see, I'm showing it to you for a reason because, see, with a lot of the stuff that went on in the aftermath of that Just Perfect Things debacle, even though O'Shea came out and condemned it, you saw it was a little bit of tap dancing at first. You saw it was a little bit of tap dancing. Now you see why. Let's let it continue.
Allow anybody to you know, but that's what they are. That's exactly what they are. I mean, Jesse Jackson, they worse than that. So let me just say this real quick. Here's my problem though, and I'm gonna share super chat real quick.
Okay, yeah, because I got about 10 more minutes.
Okay, we'll do this. What Republicans are saying, you know, you're going to basically be the same, you know, if you vote Republican, things are going to change for you. I would argue that the same things are going to happen if blacks vote Republican, because black people have the same problem. They don't put their money politically with their vote. The Latinos do that, they get things. Gays do that, they get things. If blacks start voting Republican, and they don't bring their money with their agenda, the Republicans are going to do the same thing that Democrats are doing, which is nothing. Republicans are just not going to say, I'm going to give you this for the vote if blacks are coming to the same thing, which is voting Republican and not having an agenda. Whites are still not going to have blacks' best interests at heart until. But see, we got to start. Here's my problem with white conservatives. We're acting like, oh, it's only the white liberals who are racist. It's only white Democrats. The gist of it is this: white Democrats and white conservatives, neither group gives a fuck about black people, right?
Okay, now you see why. If anybody thought that my criticism of him back then for this 6 years ago was harsh, now you see why you hold people like this to a stern account. He knows better. You heard what he just said. So now watch this. At any point in this time, at any point in time in this interview, have you seen John Paul, even when referring to the Democrats, did he refer to them in terms of crackers or honkies or whatever derogatory term you want, even a white supremacist? Did he even refer to them in that manner? But he gonna turn around and talk about house Negroes over here. And you didn't check that, O'Shea? What the fuck were you thinking back then, man? Family, y'all better pay attention to these people, man, and look at where they came from. Let's let it continue.
Yeah, that's what it is. White conservatives don't give a shit about black people, and neither do white liberals. Only thing that both party cares about is how much fucking money can you give me so I can finance it. I would argue that if blacks actually finance their vote with an agenda with the Democrats, they would get everything they would fucking wanted, but they don't. The same shit's gonna happen if they vote conservative. They're not gonna have, those are gonna be the same problems. I think it's a little bit disingenuous for white conservatives to say, oh, if you vote for us, this is going to be better for you. That's not going to happen.
Do we know that for a fact?
But the thing is this:
if Chicago got 30 years under Republican, I guarantee it'd be a better place than what it is today, or what it's been the last 70 years. I mean,
well, how do we know that?
What do you, like Donald Trump said, what do you got to lose? I mean, 800 murders a year. I mean, that's insane.
I think here's the thing. I think when black people are not in control of their own agendas as to what they want, and they're not playing the political game the correct way, they're going to be doing the same thing, right? What do you have to lose means saying that you can't do any worse than what you've been doing, which is really no better, right? If black people want to see political change and climate in the United States, it's going to come from them and their money and their agendas. The Republican Party or white conservatives are not going to say, white conservatives are looking for the Latin vote, just like everybody else. Black people are the second minority, okay? Republicans are not beating down black people's doors. No. What Republicans are looking for is, because without the Hispanic community, Donald Trump would have won. And it was pretty even. That's what he was catering to. So the Republicans are looking at the Hispanic community. The Democrats are looking at the Hispanic community. And nobody gives a fuck about blacks. And one of the reasons is because blacks are not giving a fuck about blacks in many cases when it comes to political agendas. Black people have to fund their political agendas. And what do we want? You see, we don't even know what we want. So if we don't know what we want.
No, you don't know what we want. Those of us on the black grassroots that have been pushing the line on this and out here on the ground actually doing this work, you've seen what we've been talking about over here in New Black Media Spaces, online and offline. Reparations. It's not just about money and agenda. It's about white supremacy. That's why they don't give a fuck about either one of us. See, when you start wrapping your mind around just politics and you try to take race out of it as a black person, this is what you get right here. And see, this is the sad thing about brothers like this and sisters. They'll walk into a room talking like this, and the white people in either party, whether it's Democrats or Republican, they're laughing stock. They're looking at you like, you don't even know what's really going on here, do you, little Negro? You the flunky. You the one that we're going to use as the mascot. That's how they see you. They walk in there, they think, oh, okay, well, it's not about race. Okay, yeah. It's not about race to everybody but you. The white people, you damn right it's about race. Everything they do in politics is about race. They hadn't taken the racial element out of any area of politics. I challenge anybody to show me where they've done that. Show me. Ridiculous, man.
Then what the Republicans will do, it only makes sense. We're going to just give you what we think that you need. It could work, but everybody that wants to get somewhere in this country, they have an agenda, they finance it. They know what they're trying to do. If I vote for you, here's $500 million to your campaign, and you need to do this, this, and this. Black people are not doing that. They don't have that attitude. So that's what I'm saying.
I got you. No, I don't disagree with you. And you've made that point multiple times on your platform, and you're absolutely right. But again, it goes back to the self-accountability within that community. It starts at the dinner table. It starts in the home. It starts in the neighborhood. It starts in the community. You have to start somewhere to make that change happen. And you're never going to have that change if you're not having some real dialogue like you and I are having. You got to have that real tough dialogue. It can't be, I'm going to pamper you and I'm going to slow ease you into this. So.
Okay. Well, John, I know. I mean, we all know we got about 10 minutes, man. For those people who want to subscribe to John Paul's channel, like I said, I want him to be able to come on and have his say. I think this is what we need more. And like I said, he's not Jared Taylor or anything. Like I said, listen, man, this guy is married to a black woman.
No, Negro. No, he's not Jared Taylor or anything. He's not Jared Taylor, but he adheres to the same principles and teaching of Jared Taylor. The fuck him being married to a black woman got to do with anything? You see this family? Again, 6 years ago, yes. But you just keep this in mind when you hear certain things come out on his platform. See, they don't expect you to go back and look at this type of foolishness when you hear them make certain statements. And see, you know what? I need to do a broadcast too on a lot of the women that's trying to play footsie with a lot of these damn coons and a lot of these white supremacists where they want to try to straddle the fence or want to try to, look the other way on certain things like the Just Pearly Things issue. Because see, let's be clear. That whole Just Pearly Things exposure that Brother Jason Black kicked off, it's bigger than just her. We're talking about the mindset of our people when they're in the face of racism and white supremacy. It's not a straddle the fence scenario. You either over here with us or you over there with them. That's the only way it's gonna go. We're cleaning that bullshit up. That's the mistake that we made when we left them damn plantations. We should have straightened that out then. We're not gonna drop the ball like that no more, though. So let them continue.
Raising somebody else's black kid. Okay. If you look at his profile, you think that he is black. I mean, the way he act. So I'm not trying to, I'm just saying, like, ain't all your friends black? Almost. Where'd he go?
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Check.
Yes, I'm here.
You kind of cut in and out. I didn't really hear you.
Yeah. Shout out to Shaka 38. So, guys, this is not Jared Taylor or something. I mean, I think maybe what this guy is saying is how a lot of people feel.
Yeah, all I heard Jared Taylor thing, and I started laughing.
Yeah, this is not the same thing. So let me do this, guys. For those people who wanted to basically subscribe to John Paul, I'll put it in the description. Everybody go and subscribe to him. He has some pretty interesting content. Let me shout out to Super Chats real quick, JP. Paul says, "Get your white ass out of here." I got to get you on here with new possibilities, man. So,
yeah, I'm getting some bad reception.
Okay, great point about both parties. Man with the Buick, Eric P. Thank you so much. Black Male Talk, shout out to you. How's every time we build a functional unit that we own, others shot it down, but praise those they got on their payroll. $5, $10 super chat. It hurts when somebody says get over it or I don't see color, but I'm scripted by my color and used at the bottom feeder when we come up. We had Tulsa and Rosewood burned down. Okay. The Yeti, the mindset about acceptance communities, preach, Shelly Sterling, $5. Oh shit, we're my favorite beanie. Full circle, $5. I appreciate John's feedback here, speaking from his own community. Shout out to Paulina. Not understanding the black experience. People automatically assume you're uneducated or underqualified when you're black. I think this is very true. Shout out to Howard Cooper. Shout out to Mosaic Monk. Shout out to the Yeti, man. I really appreciate you guys. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on your show. Like we talked before we got on the air, I didn't expect that I felt like I was Rocky going into Rocky 4 going into Russia, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to this ain't a popularity contest. I just keep it raw. I'm raw. This is who I am 24/7, and it's facts over people's feelings, and people don't have to agree with me, and that's okay. Um, Listen, it is what it is. I appreciate you having me. I am a part of the Negro Manosphere, and I'm proud to say that. And if people don't like it, fuck them. I don't care.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's because here's the thing. Steve has said stuff like this. ABL, so we have all of this. So guys, he's a moderator on the channel. I don't think there was anything wrong about some of the views that he had. And so shout out to Black Male Talk. He says, please do a part 2 and I'll pay to come on and talk with him. Brother, you don't have to pay, man. I appreciate you. We'll actually do another stream here in a minute. So give me about another 30 minutes, man. We'll have another stream for you brothers tonight. And anything else you want to say, John Paul?
Man, and my squad for having here. And this is the only way that we ever can bridge the gap is having some honest, healthy dialogue. Even if we agree to disagree, respect. Thank you again, O'Shea.
No problem, man. And again, man, he'll definitely come back, man. Like I said, you can only get this kind of content if you're not watching Tommy. You can get it here. Peace out, you guys. See you guys in about another hour. Peace.
Bye.
There you have it, family. So now you heard one of the last things he said during this interview 6 years ago. You heard the entire thing here. If you witnessed this broadcast live or recorded, I don't think anything was wrong with the things that he said when you're sitting right in front of a damn white supremacist and can't seem to recognize it. Family, I'm going to close the broadcast this way. As foundational Black American men who are the leaders of the community, it is imperative upon us that we recognize threats when they're right in front of our faces, and it's imperative to our entire community that we be able to spot them long before they get up close and personal in our faces. And we damn sure don't be sitting on our platforms agreeing with these damn racist white supremacists. I give you the same analogy that I've said many times on this channel when it comes to the account of Pocahontas. And she wanted to welcome the white folks in when her people should have moved her little ass out the way and took care of business. I have to level that at the feet of any black man that does this, okay? Our survival and producing justice for our people is not a matter of agree to disagree. It's not a matter of opinion or debate. It is a matter of producing justice, and it is a matter of making sure that we do everything we can every day that we wake up in whatever capacity possible to dismantle the system of racism and white supremacy. I'm going to close it right here, and I want to encourage you to come to the Foundational Black American Expo, where there will not be buck dancing coons speaking that can't tell what white supremacists are in the city of Dallas and the state of Texas. It's going to be held May 27, 2023. There will be different empowerment workshops, panels. There will be food vendors. There's still time to become one at fbaexpo.com. That's fbaexpo.com. And it's going to be hosted at the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, the Black-owned Black Academy of Arts and Letters. I hope everybody was able to use this as a teaching tool, study this. For those of you that have to come back and catch it on the playback, it is very germane to everything that's going on today, even though this was 6 years ago. And like I said, it's not just about O'Shea. This is about the mindset of a lot of these Black Manosphere sambos that are upholding Miss Pearly, a.k.a. Miss Ann and Life Spice, okay? So with that said, salute to everybody. Black first, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in future content.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tariq Nasheed, and I'm inviting you to the Foundational Black American Expo going down May 27, 2023, right here in the beautiful city of Dallas, Texas. This is an event you don't want to miss. It's going down at the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, and this is an empowerment event that you can invite the whole family to. We're going to have seminars and workshops that discuss things like business development, education, health and wellness, self-defense, and some of you businesses out there, we have vending opportunities where you can promote your businesses. Plus, we're going to have so many phenomenal speakers and guests. We got people like Dr. Boyce Watkins, who's coming down, Professor James Small, Sister Vicky Dillard, Riza Islam, Dr. Kaba Kamene, Ben X, Tahuti Mayad Ra, Erica Lachey, Red Pill, Blue Pill, so many people. So yo, get your tickets now at FBAExpo.com. That's FBAExpo.com. We will see you here.